Chapter 1. Young man, I see that your bones are exquisite. You are a one-in-a-million martial arts prodigy. You can consider joining my Iron Bone sect as a disciple. Your future achievements will be limitless. In the beautiful mountains, Jun Chongshao said with a smile to the martial artist in front of him. The curve of his mouth, coupled with his white face, gave people a very handsome feeling. It was not a feeling, it was real. If a woman saw him, she would definitely scream, and would definitely be charmed to the point of staggering. That, the martial artist with the green scarf on his head said politely, "Can you first move your foot away?" Looking down, it turned out that one of Jun Chongxiao's feet was stepping on the other person's face. On the other side of the person's face, there was actually a large footprint. He was beaten up. From the way he fell to the ground and the footprint on his chest, the beating was not light. Jun Chongxiao retracted his foot, saying apologetically, "Seeing you flirt with a beautiful female disciple of my sect, I couldn't hold back. I'm really sorry." The green scarf martial artist was speechless. Meeting a beautiful woman in the wilderness, and just going up to say a few words, he was beaten up by the self-proclaimed Iron Bone sect leader. This was really bad luck. "Friend," Jun Chongxiao said, "think about it." The green scarf martial artist said weakly, "I say I don't agree. Is that okay?"
"Yes."
Jun Chongxiao said seriously, "My Iron Bone sect has always won people over with virtue. We will never force people to do things against their will."
"Sorry."
The green-clothed martial artist endured the pain, declining, "I have already joined the Spirit Spring sect. I cannot become a disciple of your sect." It was not easy for him to pass the Spirit Spring sect's examination and become a registered disciple. How could he switch to another sect? Not to mention Iron Bone? Just by hearing the name, one could tell that it was a trash sect from the Starfall continent. Going there would only be a waste of time and life.
AI.
Jun Chongxiao shook his head and said regretfully, "Friend, you are not fated with my Iron Bone." Qian. He turned his head and asked, "This guy didn't bully you just now, right?" On a huge rock not far away, a woman in white sat quietly. Her eyes were as clear as a stream, and her skin was as white as snow. Although she was only 16 or 17 years old, she possessed all the qualities of a beauty. If one were to talk about a flaw, it would be that due to her age, she had not developed the right areas yet. Sect leader. Lu Qian lifted her cuffs and said indifferently, "He wanted to touch my hand just now."
Pa.
Jun Chongxiao lifted his foot again and stepped on the green-clothed martial artist's face. His eyes were cold as he said, "You must be tired of living." A moment ago, he still had a gentle expression on his face, but all of a sudden, he was filled with killing intent. The speed at which he changed his attitude was definitely faster than flipping the pages of a book. The green-clothed martial artist hurriedly said, "Sir."
I
didn't." He swore that he had such thoughts just now, but he was beaten up before he even made a move. At most, it could be considered as an attempt to take advantage of her. Jun Chongxiao said coldly, "Qian won't lie. I believe her. Today, I must teach you a good lesson."
Bang. Bang. Bang.
Gusts of wind blew on the green-clothed martial artist's bruised and swollen face. He did not feel comfortable because his bones were about to fall apart from the beating. Damn it! He tried hard to raise his head and looked at the two figures that were gradually blurring. The green-clothed martial artist clenched the soil and said hatefully, "I must take revenge."
Jun Chongxiao.
The sect leader of the Iron Bone clan. This Iron Bone clan was very impressive. It was established by a martial artist with the surname Wang. Because he had jumped off a cliff in his early years and did not fall to his death, he was rewarded with a meal by a passerby. After that, he established a sect and established the Iron Bone clan. The purpose of the sect was to be an Iron Bone clan person and to do Iron Bone clan things. The first generation of the sect leader worked hard and made a name for himself in the Jianghu in just over 10 years. The sect also became a ninth-class sect from a non-class sect and became the most dazzling existence in Qingyang village. However, unforeseen circumstances. The first generation of the sect leader went to the brothel in town to have fun. He had a conflict with someone and was arrested by the government. Because he failed to break out of prison, he was beheaded. The entire sect suddenly lost its leader and began to decline. There was no such thing as eternity in the world. A ninth-class sect as strong as Ironbone clan was just a flash in the pan. Every time the storytellers in the village mentioned the Ironbone clan and the sect leader Wang who failed to break out of prison and was beheaded, they all looked up to the sky and sighed. The children sitting on the benches and listening to the stories all shed tears. Although the Ironbone clan declined, it still existed. The three disciples sat together and happily finished the meal. One of them chose to stay and live alone in the sect, guarding day and night without leaving. Who was this person? It was the second generation of the sect leader, Jun Chongshao. To be exact,
It was the Jun Chongshao of the past.
because of the night a month ago, he got up and went to the toilet. Just as he walked out of the main hall, a plaque engraved with the words Ironbone Clan fell off and smashed on his head. Then he died. Coincidentally, no coincidentally, Jun Chongshao, who came from Earth, transmigrated to this world and successfully occupied Yuan's corpse. I transmigrated? Realizing that he was not dead, Jun Chongshao was stunned for a while. Then, he accepted the original owner's memory and understood that he was lucky to become one of the thousands of transmigrators. Very good, very good. Peerless cultivation methods, divine skill secret books, all kinds of systems appear. Since I, Jun Chongshao, have come here, I will be like my peers, dominate the other world, beat up all the geniuses, and become the supreme divine god, emperor, demon, saint, and immortal. Hard work pays off. After stepping on countless ants and pinching countless fleas, the system was finally triggered.
Ding.
The strongest sex system is starting. Ding. The strongest sex system has been successfully activated. Starting to load the data panel for the host. Whoosh. After the mechanical voice stopped, rows of data appeared in Jun Chongshao's vision. Sect name, Ironbone Clan. Sect leader, Jun Chongshao. Sect level, 9th rate. Sect construction, level 1. Sect members, 1/100. Sect contribution points, 0 out of 100. Sect main mission, make Ironbone Clan the strongest sect in the Falling Star continent within 100 years. Recruit 100,000 disciples. If the mission is not completed, the host's soul will be destroyed when the time is up. P.S. The Falling Star continent is full of spiritual power. The lifespan of an ordinary person is 200 to 300 years. When Lord Chongshao saw the quest for the main quest, he felt a chill run down his spine along his thighs. After carefully going through the original owner's memory, he found out that he was the only one in the Ironbone Clan, which was also the lowest level sect. He walked to the kitchen and raised the kitchen knife to his neck. After hesitating for a long time, he put the kitchen knife down and did not do anything to Ironbone Clan. A 9th-rate sect. A sect that only had him. Become the strongest sect in the continent within 100 years and recruit 100,000 disciples. Was God playing a joke on him, or was the system playing a joke on him?
Ding.
In his despair, the mechanical voice sounded in his ears. Congratulations to the host for starting the system. You have received a spatial ring. Spatial rings. Jun Chongshao noticed that an exquisite jade bracelet had appeared on his right wrist out of thin air. The words interspatial ring were engraved on it. The corner of his mouth twitched. This is the first time I've seen such a large ring. Chapter 2. The reason why Jun Chongshao was called Jun Chongshao was because his parents wanted him to smile and be happy for the rest of his life. After crossing the Falling Star continent and becoming a sect leader and activating the system, he had completely forgotten what he should do to smile happily. To make the Ironbone Clan the strongest sect and pull in 100,000 disciples was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Not to mention, there was still 100 years left. Other people's systems would either give them equipment, experience, or a level 999/. Why was it so fucked up when it came to him?
Sigh.
Jun Chongshao sighed. As a transmigrator, how can I greet my peers when I go out? although he was depressed. Since he was here, he had to live well, right? Sect leader June began to communicate with the spatial ring that was clearly a bracelet and quickly established a relationship with it. I hope there are divine equipment and divine skills inside. Jun Changshao prayed, and his thoughts merged into the magical space. After entering the spatial ring, he found that there was nothing in the illusory area except for a brick. Where were the divine equipment and divine skills? At least give me a divine beast egg, and let me slowly hatch it. What a pity. There was nothing, only a brick. Jun Changshao didn't give up and walked over, secretly looking forward to it. Could it be a divine artifact? He had read many books and knew that a qualified transmigrator, a chosen one, even if it was a stone dug out from a latrine, it would be a long-lost ancient divine artifact. Sect leader Jun began to imagine the beautiful scene of him holding a brick in his left hand and a string in his right hand. When Jun Changshao grabbed the brick, he could clearly feel it vibrating slightly. He was overjoyed. There's a heartbeat. Could it be that there's a powerful almighty hidden in the brick, and after waking it up, it will teach me a peerless divine skill? The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. Jun Changshao's expression froze. The blood in his body couldn't be suppressed, and there was a possibility of it going up his throat. The brick showed a screen with words and a string of numbers on its self-destruct time remaining: 99 years, 355 days, 23 hours, 58 minutes, 46 seconds. There was a small paragraph at the bottom left corner. Note: complete the main mission within 100 years, and the explosive device will be removed.
Ding. Ding.
After a few jumps, the time decreased. Fuck him. Jun Changshao threw the brick to the ground and cursed. This is not a divine weapon. This is a bomb.
Ding.
The brick fell to the ground, and the time on the screen jumped from 23:58 to 22:58. Host. This item is called the Soul Blaster, but has its own thoughts and emotions. If you make it unhappy, it will only speed up the countdown.
Plop.
Jun Changshao collapsed to the ground and sobbed. System, I don't want to play anymore. I want to go home, the system mechanically replied. The system has been activated. The host must complete the main quest. If the host remains passive during the process and waits for death, the soul detonator will detonate prematurely. Jun Changshao spread out his limbs and said weakly and sorrowfully, Where's the knife? Where's the knife? I want to commit suicide. Ding. Host's first wish has been fulfilled. You have been rewarded with a hard-to-keep saber. Whoosh, a saber appeared in the space. Jun Changshao almost vomited blood. His wish to go home was not fulfilled, and he was happy to commit suicide with a knife. What a scam! Jun Changshao felt that he had been scammed. But after coming to the Falling Star continent and activating the system, he could only accept his fate. Thus, he adjusted the system's interface and looked at it carefully. The name of the sect, the sect leader, and the members of the sect were easy to understand. What puzzled him was, what the hell was sect construction? Level 1 and sect contribution points. 0/100 on the interface.
Host.
The system's voice sounded. Sect construction includes a lot of things. The higher the level, the more sect functions can be activated. For example, the host can use his mind to touch the sect construction and open the detailed data interface. There's such a function? Jun Changshao closed his eyes and used his mind to touch the words sect construction. A small interface appeared in front of him with a short explanation. Sect construction level 1. Function temporarily unavailable. Sect construction level 2. Open medicine refining pavilion. Sect construction level 3. Open smithing pavilion. Sect construction level 4. Open talisman pavilion. Sect construction level 5. Open spirit beast pavilion. There was a small line of words at the back. The content was sect construction can only be activated after reaching level 5. Jun Changshao was speechless. How do I upgrade the sect construction? In order to upgrade the sect construction, the host must recruit more members. So it's like that. Jun Changshao asked, what does the sect contribution points mean? The system explained, Sect contribution points can be used to exchange for treasures in the Sect Commerce Store. Sect Commerce Store? Jun Changxiao's eyes lit up. From what he knew, a lot of main characters in novels would have a commerce store after obtaining the system. They would even give them a novice gift pack, giving them a set of face-smacking equipment in the early stages. Jun Changxiao carefully looked at the system's interface several times and asked in confusion, "Why isn't there a Sect Commerce Store?" The host needs to obtain at least one contribution point to activate the hidden Sect Commerce Store. How do I increase the contribution points? To activate the Sect Commerce Store, the host must recruit more members. Hearing this, Jun Changxiao finally understood. The so-called strongest sect system, regardless of whether it was sect construction or contribution points, everything was inseparable from recruiting members. Good. Jun Changxiao said in high spirits, "From tomorrow onwards, I'll start recruiting members." Reality was very cruel, because when he opened the 2 broken doors with peeling paint and posted the recruitment notice, no one asked about it for a month. After waiting for another half a month, just as Jun Changxiao was feeling disheartened, Lu Qianqian came. She stopped in front of the recruitment notice posted at the door, hesitated for a moment, then walked in and said, "I want to join the Iron Bone clan." Jun Changxiao, who was squatting on the stairs in front of the palace and eating noodles, was immediately dumbfounded. After waiting bitterly for dozens of days, just as he was about to lose all hope, a beauty actually came. For him, this was undoubtedly a super blessing. Lu Qianqian looked at him and said indifferently, "Are you an idiot?"
Schwa.
Jun Changxiao hurriedly threw away his bowl and chopsticks and enthusiastically went through the entry procedures. When he took out the Sect Master's seal, which represented his identity as the Sect Master, Lu Qianqian said with a questioning tone, "You're the Sect Master?"
Correct.
Jun Changxiao puffed out his chest and said seriously, "This seat is the Iron Bones Sect Master. I'm leaving the sect. Beauty don't."
Don't.
Using all his skills and shamelessly pestering, Jun Changxiao finally made Lu Qianqian stay so that he was no longer the only person in the desolate sect.
Ding.
Sect members, 2,100.
Ding.
Sect contribution points, 1,100.
Ding.
Contribution points met. System activated Sect Store. After a series of notifications, Jun Changxiao pulled out the Sect attribute panel and saw that under the main mission, the words Sect Store appeared out of thin air. There really is a store. Jun Changxiao was overjoyed, and his mind touched the Sect Store.
Schwa.
The scene in front of him changed, and a storehouse-like panel appeared, listing many products. 9 Transformation Marrow Cleansing Pill. Dragon Elephant Prajna Palm. Fleeting Dragon Steps. 5 Elements Yin-Yang Harmony Art. 1,000-Year Cold Ice Battle Armor. Sacred Flame Body. Looking at the martial skills, pills, and battle armor listed in the Sect Store, Jun Changxiao's heartbeat sped up. Just by hearing the names, he knew that these things were absolutely awesome. In the next second, Sect Master Jun's expression froze, because the price of each item was at least 10,000 contribution points. It can't be? Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched violently. So expensive. Chapter 3. With only 1 contribution point, looking at the items that cost 10,000 contribution points to exchange for, he really felt like a dog. Host. The system reminded him, "You are looking at a high-level store."
N.
Jun Changxiao just realized that there were a few buttons on the left side of the store, which were respectively written Novice Store, Beginner Store, Intermediate Store, and High-Level Store. No wonder it's so expensive, so it's a high-level store. He hurriedly clicked on the Novice Store, and a new panel appeared. There was only one item in the Novice Store, called Novice Gift Pack, which required 1 contribution point to exchange. Novice Gift Pack? Jun Changxiao was overjoyed. This is it. He didn't believe that there would be something cheaper than this in the store.
Ding.
Host spent 1 contribution point, received Novice Gift Pack. It has been transferred to the Space Ring.
Ding.
Sect contribution points, 0/100. Jun Changxiao didn't care that his contribution points returned to 0. He hurriedly entered the space ring and saw a red gift box next to the time bomb.
Schwa.
He excitedly opened it.
Ding.
Host unlocked novice gift pack. Received escape talisman X1.
Ding.
Host unlocked novice gift pack. Received escape talisman X1.
Ding.
Host unlocked novice gift pack. Received escape talisman X1.
Ding.
Host unlocked novice gift pack. Received escape talisman X1. After a series of notifications, 4 talismans appeared out of thin air in the space ring, and Jun Chongxiao's mouth twitched. Escape? It sounded like he was running for his life. Escape talisman? It sounds like a defensive talisman. Escape? It sounds like it's used to hasten the journey. Crossing over to another world, if it's not to show off and slap faces. What's the point of living if you only know how to escape and take a beating?
Ding.
Host unlocked novice gift pack. Received escape talisman X1. Escape talisman? Jun Chongxiao said. What is this? The system explained, escape talisman can be used to quickly increase the host's cultivation. Is that so? Jun Chongxiao was overjoyed. It seems that this was the most valuable item in the novice gift pack. How do I use it? Crush it.
Pa.
Jun Chongxiao didn't even think about it. He directly crushed the talisman with the word experience. Hoo-hoo. In an instant, a majestic aura emerged from his body and flowed through the 8 extraordinary meridians.
Ding.
Host has successfully broken through to the 3rd level of the channel opening realm.
Ding.
Host has successfully broken through to level 4 meridian opening.
Ding.
Host has successfully broken through to level 5 channel opening stage. After the experience talisman was crushed, Jun Chongxiao's cultivation broke through from level 2 to level 5. The warriors of the Falling Star continent had a total of 12 main meridians in their bodies. Opening one meridian meant opening one segment of the meridians. Opening all 12 meridians meant opening 12 segments of the meridians. Of course, opening meridians was just the beginning of the Falling Star continent. Above them were Martial Disciple, Martial Master, Wu Zong, Martial King, Wu Huang, Wu Sheng, and Martial Emperor. The higher one's cultivation level was, the stronger one's strength would be. It was said that experts who had reached the level of Martial King or even higher could fly in the air and behead people from 1,000 miles away. So good. Feeling the powerful energy gathering in his body, Jun Chongxiao's face was filled with joy. If the warriors who lived in the Falling Star continent and cultivated their mental cultivation methods to break through knew that he had broken through 3 levels by crushing a piece of paper, they would be so envious that they would vomit blood. Jun Chongxiao took out the yellow paper with the words opening seal and asked, "What's the use of this thing?" The system said, "The opening seal talisman is used to unlock the seal of the hard-to-keep saber." That saber has a seal? Yes, the hard-to-keep saber has a seal suppressing it. The host must rely on the opening seal talisman to unlock the seal before it can be used normally. Jun Chongxiao's face was filled with black lines. The weapon given by the first wish needed to be unlocked before it could be used. What a fucked up setting.
Sigh.
Thinking of the fucking system and the first wish, Jun Chongxiao looked up at the sky and sighed again. Don't sigh anymore. Lu Qianqian said indifferently, let's hurry up. Otherwise, when the Qingyang city gate closes, we will have to sleep in the wild again. Since he wanted to develop the sect, he had to recruit disciples. According to the memories of the previous master, Jun Chongxiao knew that the Qingyang city would hold a recruitment ceremony in half a month. At that time, it would attract many young men and women. This was a good opportunity to recruit members. As a result, Sect leader Jun rushed over with Lu Qianqian and coincidentally met the green scarf martial artist in the wild. Qianqian. Jun Chongxiao smiled and said, I'm a little tired. How about I rest for a while?
No.
Lu Qianqian said coldly. Jun Chongxiao was speechless and could only continue on his way.
Schwa. Schwa.
Suddenly, the sound of hurried footsteps came from behind him. Looking back, he saw several martial artists in uniform chasing after him and surrounding him. Senior Brotherly. The green scarf martial artist covered his face and said angrily, He's the one who hit me. Humph. The martial artist called Senior brotherly glanced at Jun Changshao and said coldly, "Your courage is not small, daring to hit the people of my Spirit Spring Sect." Spirit Spring Sect? Jun Changshao felt that this sect was a little familiar. Lu Qianqian said lightly, "Sect leader, Spirit Spring Sect is a ninth-rate sect of Spirit Spring Village. So that's how it is." Jun Changshao remembered. Hearing the woman call him sect leader, Senior brotherly said in disbelief, "You are the sect leader?" Jun Changshao was very hurt. "I look so imposing. Don't I look like a sect leader?" Senior brotherly. The green scarf martial artist covered his swollen face and said, "He said he is the sect leader of the Ironbone clan." Ironbone clan? Ha ha ha. Isn't it the sect leader who went to the brothel and was caught by the authorities and failed to escape from prison and was beheaded? I heard that the disciples had a farewell meal. How can they still exist? The Spirit Spring Sect disciples' face was full of disdain and ridicule. Although they are both ninth-rate sects, but their Spirit Spring Sect is superior to the Ironbone clan in terms of foundation and disciples.
Sigh.
Jun Changshao sighed inwardly. Knowing that the previous sect leader Wang was beheaded because he went to the brothel, he was speechless for a long time.
Men.
It is normal to go out and relax. Since you were caught, you should obediently accept reform. Why do you have to take the risk of escaping from prison? Jun Changshao could not understand because he still did not truly understand the purpose of the sect to be a person of iron bone, to do things of iron bone. Everyone. Jun Changshao laughed. You stopped me just to humiliate my Iron Bone clan.
Pah.
Senior brotherly spat, saying, "A trash sect dares to call itself this sect. Do you really think you are someone important? A guy whose hair hasn't even grown out. What qualifications does he have to be the sect leader? The new disciple is really something, to be beaten up by this trash. If this spreads out, it will bring shame to my Spirit Spring Sect." The Spirit Spring Sect disciples did not put Jun Changshao in their eyes at all, doing their best to humiliate and ridicule him. This is simply a typical brainless villain. If I don't trample them under my feet, how can I live up to my identity as a transmigrator? Jun Changshao rolled up his sleeves, saying, "Qianqian, get further away. I want to teach this group of idiots a lesson." Lu Qianqian turned around and retreated, but left behind some words of indifference. "If you die, remember to pass the sect leader's position to me." Jun Changshao almost fell over. This cold and arrogant woman, she actually had the ambition to covet the sect leader's position. If he was not bound by the dam system, he really would be very happy to pass the sect leader's position to Lu Qianqian and then quietly be a leisurely handsome man in another world. Chapter 4. Okay. Jun Changshao said, "If I die, the position of sect leader is yours." While speaking, he clenched his right fist, and on his wrist gradually appeared 3 brilliant rings of light. Every time a martial artist of the Falling Star continent opens a meridian, when their spirit energy erupts, a ring of light will condense on their wrist. Haha. Only opened 3 meridians. This Ironbone sect leader is really weak. I don't know where he got the courage to face us 4th stage meridian opening cultivators. The Spirit Spring Sect disciples jeered. In their view, a sect leader, even if only a 9th-rate one, should at least be a martial disciple. A 3rd stage meridian opening cultivator as sect leader? This was simply a huge joke. Jun Changshao narrowed his eyes, saying, 3rd stage meridian opening is enough to deal with you. Is that so? The 3 disciples simultaneously released their spirit energy, and 4 rings of light appeared on their wrists. TSK. So they are all 4th stage meridian opening. No wonder they arrogantly came to find trouble with me.
Kid.
Senior brotherly grinned. If you kneel down and beg for mercy, my Spirit Spring Sect can give you face and pretend that nothing happened.
Ding.
Side mission activated. Hearing the system prompt, Jun Changshao was stunned. Opening the sect panel that only he could see, he saw that under the main mission there was a side mission. The content was deal with the 4 Spirit Spring Sect disciples who provoked him.
Damn.
There's a side mission? The system said, the side mission requires specific conditions to trigger. If the host completes it, he will receive a certain amount of sect contribution points. Jun Changxiao's eyes suddenly lit up. If he wants to develop the sect, he must become strong. Strength depends on the goods in the sect store, which require contribution points to exchange for. Since there's a mission that rewards contribution points, he must do it. Jun Changxiao coldly said, "Kneel down? You must have lost your mind."
Schwa.
As soon as his voice fell, his right hand turned into a fist and suddenly punched out. This move was fast and fierce. Lu Qianqian thought with interest, "My sect leader doesn't seem weak. You're courting death." Senior brother Li coldly shouted, raising his fist to meet the attack.
Boom.
The two fists collided, and the air rippled weakly. This was caused by the collision of spiritual energy. In Jun Changxiao's memories, high-level martial artists could shatter space if they used spiritual energy to resist. Dang, dang, dang. Senior brother Li retreated a few steps. When he stabilized his body, his right fist suddenly swelled up. Damn it! He was both angry and puzzled as he said, "How can a third-stage meridian opening realm cultivator have such strength?"
Schwa.
Jun Changxiao walked over. "Because I'm the sect master."
Boom.
Dang, dang, dang. Senior brother Li retreated again and sat on the ground. Pain came from the attack on his chest, and his face turned ferocious.
Ding.
Take care of the 14 disciples of the Spirit Spring Sect. Looking at the changes in the side mission data, Jun Changxiao was stunned. We've already completed one? Damn it. Although Senior Brother Li had lost his ability to fight, he endured the pain and roared, "Go."
Charge. Charge. Schwa.
Schwa. The 3 disciples of the Spirit Spring Sect immediately attacked. Jun Changxiao said indifferently, "Many against few? Shameless." A trash as the sect master is the greatest shame. The 3 disciples of the Spirit Spring Sect definitely wanted to fight with many and had no intention of stopping. Good, good. Jun Changxiao said coldly, "Since you guys are so shameless, don't blame me for being merciless today." As he spoke, a layer of air emerged around him, and the light rings on his wrist instantly turned into 5. 5th stage meridian opening realm. How is this possible? The 3 disciples of the Spirit Spring Sect stared with their eyes wide open. After seeing the 5 light rings on Jun Changxiao's wrist, Lu Qianqian's beautiful eyes were filled with surprise. After joining the Ironbone clan, she always thought that the highest realm the sect master could reach was 2nd stage. It was already surprising that he could reach 3rd stage. Now that he reached 5th stage, it was even more unbelievable. The original Jun Changxiao was only 2nd stage meridian opening realm. But the transmigrated Jun Changxiao relied on the experience talisman and easily broke through to 5th stage meridian opening realm. This cultivation level is nothing in the Falling Star continent, but it is enough to deal with a 4th stage meridian opening realm.
Schwa.
Jun Changxiao stepped forward. Infused with spirit power, his right fist suddenly swung and directly sent a Spirit Spring Sect disciple who was in a daze flying.
Ding.
Dealt with the 24 Spirit Spring Sect disciples who provoked him. "A bunch of trash. Dare to be arrogant in front of me. You don't know life from death." Jun Changxiao swung his fist again and sent another Spirit Spring Sect disciple flying.
Ding.
Dealt with the 34 Spirit Spring Sect disciples who provoked him. Relying on the experience talisman to open 5 meridians, Jun Changxiao easily bullied this group of 4th stage meridian opening realm disciples. Seeing his companion being sent flying, another Spirit Spring Sect disciple hurriedly retreated in fear. "You can't run." Jun Changxiao strode forward and threw a punch. Pum, the last Spirit Spring Sect disciple was sent flying and then fell to the ground dispiritedly.
Ding.
Dealt with the 44 Spirit Spring Sect disciples who provoked him.
Ding.
Congratulations to the host for completing the side mission. You have received 4 Sect contribution points.
Ding.
Sect contribution points, 4,100. Jun Changxiao opened the panel and saw that his sect contribution points had changed from 0 to 4. The corner of his mouth suddenly raised into a bright smile. Although the reward was small, it was better than nothing.
Clap.
Jun Changshao clapped his hands and said, "Why haven't you scrammed yet? The green mountains do not change. The green water flows forever. We will meet again." Senior brother Li got up with difficulty, and after saying this, he took the 3 disciples and fled in a sorry state. "For senior brothers, wait for me." The green scarf cultivator chased after him in a panic. This brother probably did not expect that the senior brother he found would be so easily dealt with by that guy. The conflict ended after Jun Changshao revealed his true strength, and when he completed the side mission and received 4 contribution points, it could be considered a windfall. Lu Qianqian said, "We should kill them to prevent future troubles." Jun Changshao said speechlessly, "There is no need to be so cruel, right?" As someone who came from Earth and received higher education, he really did not have the impulse to kill people because of a little conflict. Lu Qianqian said lightly, "In the falling star continent where the strong preys on the weak, being merciful to the enemy is the greatest cruelty. If you don't even know this, you are not qualified to be the sect leader." Jun Changshao was silent.
Yes.
He was no longer an earthling, but a person of the falling star continent. Here, the strong preys on the weak. Being merciful to the enemy is being cruel to oneself.
Ding.
While thinking, a sound rang in his ear. Side mission triggered. Another side mission was triggered? Jun Changshao hurriedly pulled out the sect panel. He saw that the side mission presented on the panel was educate Lu Qianqian with great principles and protect the dignity of the sect leader. What kind of mission is this? Jun Changshao was a little confused. But soon he understood something and thought to himself, Lu Qianqian is a disciple. If she teaches me, where is the dignity of the sect leader? Chapter 5. Although the Ironbone Upright sect was only a 9th-rate sect with only 2 people, Jun Changshao was the sect master after all. If a disciple dared to preach in front of him, what dignity did he have as a sect master?
No.
He had to establish his dignity and let this woman understand that he was the Ironbone Upright sect master and her immediate superior. Cough, cough. Jun Changshao moistened his throat, put his hands behind his back, and said seriously, "Qianqian, what you said just now is right. We can't be merciful to our enemies. But we have to remember. We martial cultivators cultivate the Tao. What we cultivate is the heart. If we bully others and the weak, we are no different from local ruffians and bullies. Not to mention, a few trash disciples are no threat to me. If I kill them, it will definitely damage the sect's prestige."
Ding.
Congratulations to the host for completing the side quest. You have received 1 sect contribution point.
Ding.
Sect contribution points. 50, 100. It was completed just like that? Jun Changshao was dumbfounded. He thought that he had to convince Lu Qianqian wholeheartedly to be considered a success. In fact, this side quest did not have a strict requirement. As long as Jun Changshao made a statement and showed the dignity that a sect master should have, it would be considered completed. Whether Lu Qianqian listened or not was her own business. From the way she looked at Jun Changshao, it was as if she was looking at an idiot. He knew that this woman did not listen at all. "I understand," Lu Qianqian said. "Killing these trash is a disgrace to the sect master's prestige. Let me do it on your behalf."
Clang.
The long sword was unsheathed, and cold air spread. Jun Changshao broke down and said, "Qianqian, why don't you understand? I mean, hey, don't go. Lu Qianqian, you are a woman. A woman should act like a woman and not only know how to fight and kill." Lu Qianqian stopped, and her beautiful eyes were cold as she said, "Who said that women can't fight and kill?" She was very beautiful. From Jun Changshao's point of view, there were no flaws. However, the coldness and murderous intent in her eyes made him feel apprehensive. He thought to himself, this is definitely a woman with a story. Jun Changshao knew nothing about Lu Qianqian's identity and background when she joined Ironbone Upright Sect. He had once thought about whether he should find an opportunity to ask her, but after a short period of contact, he found that she was always cold and indifferent, so he gave up on the idea. It's not easy to get along with a woman with a cold personality. It's better not to provoke her. Qianqian. Jun Changshao smiled and said, "Put your sword away first."
Clang.
Lu Qianqian sheathed her sword and said indifferently, "You are the sect leader. I will listen to your orders. But remember, do not look down on women."
Contempt?
Jun Changshao was speechless. "I don't want you to fight and kill because I'm worried that you'll encounter danger." Jun Changshao felt that his position as the head of the sect was not very dignified because he did not see the slightest bit of respect and awe in the eyes of his only female disciple. How could he make her treat him with respect? Jun Changshao thought about it all the way, but he could not think of any good ideas, so he decided not to think about it. He pulled open the attribute panel and looked at the 5 contribution points. He thought to himself, "Can I exchange for something in the shop?" He skipped the newbie shop and directly opened the beginner shop. A dazzling array of items appeared in front of his eyes. Fireball Talisman requires 10 contribution points. Icicle Talisman requires 10 contribution points. Beginner Cold Edge Sword requires 10 contribution points. 9 Heavy Collapsing Fist requires 10 contribution points. Jun Changshao, who only had 5 contribution points, glanced at the items that required 10 contribution points to exchange for one by one, and he was instantly disheartened. There was nothing cheap. There was nothing that required 1 contribution point to exchange for. There was. Jun Changshao continued to look and found that in the last section, there was an item that only required 1 contribution point to exchange. It was called Beginner Healing Pill. He was not injured, so it was useless to exchange for this thing. Ba. Even if it's free, I can't exchange it. The items in the beginner shop, except for the Beginner Healing Pill, all required 10 contribution points. This made Jun Changshao reluctantly put it away.
Sigh.
He could only go to Qingyang City and recruit disciples to increase his contribution points. Gah. Lu Qianqian, who was walking in front, stopped. Her jade-like hand lightly rested on the hilt of her sword. She frowned and said, There's someone. Jun Changshao hurriedly looked and found that this was an official road. There were only trees and rocks on both sides. There was not even a shadow of a person. He did not think that Lu Qianqian would joke with him. He asked, "Where is the person?" Lu Qianqian did not say anything. She kept looking at the bushes on the side of the road. Jun Changshao followed her line of sight and saw the bushes trembling slightly, as if there was something inside. He asked cautiously, could it be a berserk beast? There were not only humans in the Falling Star continent. There were also berserk beasts. Although they did not practice martial arts, they were very powerful. For example, on the way here, Jun Changshao encountered a berserk beast comparable to a martial disciple in a mountain forest where there were few people. That physique, that strength. It could smash rocks and trees with one punch. It was like a toy. After seeing the strength of the berserk beast, Sect leader Jun decisively chose to take a detour. He said that the mountain forest ahead was full of feces and urine and was not suitable for walking. It's not a berserk beast. Lu Qianqian said, it's a person. A person? Jun Changshao immediately heaved a sigh of relief. As long as it was not a berserk beast that could smash mountains and trees, there was nothing to worry about. Sect leader Jun swaggered over. When he pushed aside the bushes, he saw a cultivator covered in blood lying on the ground. It was not just a person. It was a heavily injured person. Lu Qianqian also walked over and said, he's heavily injured. As she spoke, she let go of the sword hilt and looked up at the sky. She said, it's getting dark. Let's hurry. Jun Changshao blurted out, we're not going to save him. Lu Qianqian looked at him as if she was looking at an idiot. She said, you're still planning to save him? Jun Changshao said, saving a life is better than building a 7-floor pagoda. Lu Qianqian said indifferently, who knows if he's being chased by an enemy? If you save him, you might bring trouble to yourself and the sect. Even though he had transmigrated, Jun Changshao understood this principle. He squatted down and lifted half of the injured man's blood-stained clothes. He said, "Do you think that the injury on his back was caused by someone?" Lu Qianqian shook her head and said, "It's a claw mark." Jun Chongxiao said, "So it was a vicious beast that injured him, not an enemy." Lu Qianqian agreed and said indifferently, "This person is heavily injured and could die at any time. How can you save him if you don't understand medicine?" "Although I don't understand medicine," Jun Chongxiao opened his palm and said with a smile, "but there are healing pills." Lu Qianqian glanced at the peanut-sized pill in his palm. She said indifferently, "From the color of this pill, it's nothing more than an ordinary wound medicine. Can it heal a heavily injured person? Whether it works or not, we'll know after we try." Jun Chongxiao turned the injured man over and opened his mouth. He threw the pill in and circulated his spiritual energy to push it into his body. Lu Qianqian did not say a word. This person not only had external injuries, but also internal injuries. Ordinary healing pills could not heal him. Cough, cough. Suddenly, the unconscious injured man coughed twice. His closed eyelids shook a few times and then opened with difficulty. He woke up. Lu Qianqian's beautiful eyes were filled with surprise. Jun Chongxiao grinned and said, "The effects of my healing pills look pretty good." Chapter 6. Where did the pill come from? Naturally, it was exchanged from the beginner's store in the Sect system. Jun Chongxiao did not have high hopes for this kind of healing pill that could only be exchanged with one contribution point. After all, that person's injuries were too serious and could be considered to be on the verge of death. Unexpectedly, after taking it for a while, the seriously injured person opened his eyes. Lu Qianqian was also very surprised. Ordinary golden sword medicine did not have such a powerful effect. What was even more amazing was that the claw marks on the injured person's back quickly healed and scabbed over. How is this possible? Lu Qianqian could not believe it. She even doubted whether what she saw was real. It was very real, because after a while, that person's injuries healed and he jumped up from the ground. A seriously injured person who was on the verge of death, after taking the pill for a short period of time, was as lively as a dragon and as lively as a tiger. How inconceivable. I'm rich, I'm rich. Jun Chongxiao's eyes were burning. A beginner-grade healing pill that could be exchanged with one contribution point had such a powerful healing effect. He could definitely sell it. In the martial arts world, not to mention spraining an ankle or injuring a muscle, even serious injuries were common. A beginner-grade healing pill had a powerful effect. It was definitely hard to buy with money. If he exchanged for the remaining points, he would think of a way to sell it at a high price. With money, he could expand the Sect's territory and decorate it well. Would he be afraid of not being able to recruit disciples? The more Jun Chongxiao thought about it, the more excited he became. He hurriedly pulled out the system panel and prepared to exchange his remaining 4 contribution points for beginner-grade healing pills. Sect store, open. Beginner store, open. He scrolled all the way down until he reached the end. He saw that the beginner-grade healing pill was a dark gray color. A small line of words appeared below it. The content was purchase limited to 1 per month. Plop. Jun Chongxiao sat on the ground and howled in his heart. His uncle, there's a purchase limit. Seeing this, Lu Qianqian secretly said, "What happened to him?" After witnessing the effect of the beginner-grade healing pill, Jun Chongxiao began to plan for his beautiful future. But the words, purchase limited to 1 per month, were like a needle that fiercely pierced the balloon that helped him fly up into the sky. He instantly fell from the sky and cried out miserably. Yes, yes. Jun Chongxiao thought to himself, the main quest is already very difficult. The system won't leave me with such an obvious bug.
AI.
He heaved a long sigh and tried his best to stand up, only to find that the injured person from before had disappeared. Thus, he asked in surprise, Qianqian, where's that person? Let's go. Gone, gone. Jun Chongxiao almost fell to the ground again. I spent 1 precious contribution point in exchange for that fellow's recovery. Isn't it too fucked up to leave without saying thanks? Lu Qianqian said indifferently, Sect Master, I advise you to be a bad person. Being a good person in the falling star continent often doesn't end well. Jun Changshao knew that this woman was mocking him on purpose. His temper flared up as he said, I don't believe that there's no conscience in this world. Conscience? Lu Qianqian's beautiful eyes were suffused with a strong murderous intent. She gnashed her teeth and said, some people's conscience has long been eaten by dogs. Jun Changshao shuddered. Lu Qianqian also had a murderous aura just now, but now the murderous aura she emitted was abnormally terrifying. The story behind this woman was definitely not simple. And those people she mentioned, was it a large-scale attack or a single person? Jun Changshao's purpose of being a good person and doing good deeds was actually to save the injured person and then pull him into his own Iron Bonjeng sect. In the end, she didn't even say thank you before disappearing. Jun Changshao was very helpless. At the same time, he understood that if you rushed to do good deeds in this world, you would definitely be a super idiot. There were legal restrictions on Earth, but not here. There were moral shackles on Earth, but not here. Jun Changshao looked up at the sky and said with a firm gaze, since I've come to the falling star continent, from today onwards, I naturally have to follow the rules of this world. What rules? For simple words, the strong are respected. Not to be bullied? Have power and financial resources? Have 3 wives and 4 concubines and be worshipped by people?
Yes.
First of all, he had to become a strong person, an earth-shaking strong person.
Ding.
Congratulations to the host for initially comprehending the laws of the falling star continent and completing the hidden mission. The reward is 10 contribution points.
Ding.
Sect contribution points, 14100. Jun Changshao said with a dumbfounded look, there's a hidden mission?
Yes.
The system's voice sounded. The mission of the strongest sect system is divided into main mission, side mission, and hidden mission. The hidden mission is hidden in the interface. The host can only complete it by chance. Jun Changshao was speechless. The side mission needed to be triggered. At least he could see the details of the mission. The hidden mission was hidden and could only be completed by chance. This setting was really fucked up. Of course. The system said again, there's a 4th type of mission called epic mission. Epic mission? Jun Changshao pricked up his ears. The system explained, when the host reaches a certain level, the epic mission will be triggered. After completion, the host will receive a very generous reward. How generous? Jun Changxiao's eyes were burning. The system said, the reward for the epic mission will be determined according to the host's completion rate and realm. Jun Changshao said, you mean, the better the completion rate and the higher the realm, the more generous the reward? Yes. When can I trigger the epic mission? Sorry, the host has to figure out the epic mission by himself. The system will not give too many hints to avoid destroying the balance. Tisk, Jun Changshao rolled his eyes, pulled out the attribute panel happily, and opened the Sect store. He completed a hidden mission in a daze and obtained 10 contribution points. He must find a way to spend it. What should I choose? Looking at the rows of goods, Jun Changshao hesitated. He felt that the items inside were not bad and had the idea of exchanging for them. Sect Master Lu Qianqian, who was walking in front, said coldly, we're almost at Qingyang City. Jun Changshao kept the data panel and realized that there was a city at the end of his vision. From afar, it looked like a lion lying between heaven and earth. He shook his head and said, this is Qingyang City, the largest city in Qingyang County? It doesn't look as grand as I imagined. Jun Changshao walked all the way and finally stood in front of a city gate. He looked up at the city wall that was dozens of meters high and said with a dumbfounded expression, it's really tall. Seeing his expression, the passers-by looked at him with disdain. Someone even whispered, even if this guy hasn't seen Qingyang City, he should have heard of it, right? That girl looks good. Is she with him? Lu Qianqian frowned and instinctively took a few steps back, keeping a certain distance from the sect master. It was as if she was telling the passers-by that she didn't know this guy. Jun Changshao retracted a shocked gaze and grinned. In the future, I'll definitely make Ironbone Sword Sect more magnificent than Qingyang City. Ironbone Sword Sect? Someone whispered. Is this person a disciple of Ironbone Sect in Qingyang Village?
Wrong.
Jun Changshao turned around and put his hands on his waist. I'm not a disciple of Ironbone. I'm the second sect master of Ironbone. GA. There was a short moment of silence in front of the city gate. Then, there was a roar of laughter.
Ha ha.
This guy is the sect master? Stop joking. Although Ironbone Sect exists in name only, it's not easy for a young guy to become the sect master. Haha, I can't. I'm laughing so hard that tears are coming out. Chapter 7. Have you heard? Because the sect leader went to the brothel, he was caught by the officials. The Ironbone, who failed to break out of prison, came to participate in this year's recruitment. No way. This sect still exists? A young man with a brain problem, claiming to be the second sect leader of the Ironbone. I estimate that the highest realm is only the second or third level of the channel opening. The second level of the channel opening has the face to inherit the sect leader. Us third and fourth level, can't we occupy the mountain and start a sect? Jun Changshao stood in front of the city gate and said flirtatious words with a Chinibyu attitude, which immediately caused a heated discussion in Qingyang City. Of course, it was only a heated discussion as a laughingstock. In the past, the Ironbone sect still had a little prestige under the development of sect leader Wang. Now that people are gone, the tea is cold. It is already good to be remembered by everyone. Walking on the streets of Qingyang City, Jun Changshao heard their discussions and saw the contemptuous eyes cast at him. Although he was a sect leader, his treatment was no different from the protagonist who transmigrated into a waste and was ridiculed by others.
No.
After transmigrating, he opened his golden finger and walked on the path of hanging and beating geniuses, stepping on gods and demons, and marrying a beautiful woman. What about himself? Although he had a system, he still had a bomb tied to him. He was afraid that when the time came, he would not die miserably enough. Lu Qianqian said, Sect leader, do you want to find a hole to hide in now? This woman. Can't you comfort my hurt heart?
Who?
Jun Changshao breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, Don't worry, I have experienced all kinds of storms and waves. Why would I care about other people's private criticism? Storms and waves? Lu Qianqian whispered, I'm afraid you have never been out of Qingyang Village since you were young.
Hee.
I have died once. Is it not enough storms and waves? Jun Changshao was too lazy to pay attention to this cold, sharp-tongued woman and walked to the west side of the city where the recruitment was held. On the way, many people were pointing at him behind his back. Ignoring their discussion, Jun Changshao walked away with his head held high and chest puffed out. This guy has an advantage. As a transmigrator, he had an extraordinarily thick skin. If this were the old Jun Changshao, or a martial artist who cared about their self-esteem, they would have vomited blood on the spot from being ridiculed by others. Lu Qianqian followed behind. She watched as the sect leader calmly faced the mockery of the passers-by. She thought to herself, he can even tolerate this? Even if he couldn't bear it, he had to. From Jun Changshao's point of view, only by using strength could they shut their mouths of ridicule. Just you wait. Sooner or later, when you talk about Ironbone Clan, your eyes will be filled with admiration and reverence. Jun Changshao had no choice but to complete the main quest given by the system. After being ridiculed by passers-by, he had to complete it. There was a fundamental difference between being passive before and being proactive now. Qingyang City was huge. The west side of the city is also the location of the previous 100 sect recruitment, and the scale is also quite good. Jun Changshao walked over with Lu Qianqian and saw that there were many temporary tents set up on the martial arts field. Vigorous and powerful sect banners were hung on them. Great Saber Sect, the Golden Dragon Gang, Elite Mountain Village, Tiger's Hall Sect. A variety of sect names appeared in the eyes, giving people a dazzling feeling. Some of the young boys and girls who came first, accompanied by their parents or friends, inquired about the situation of each sect in detail. The general content was, how is this sect? Are there many members? What is the level of the martial arts cultivation method? If you cultivate here, what level of martial arts can you achieve in the future? After listening for a while, Jun Chongshao shook his head and secretly said, how is this the 100 sect recruitment? It's simply a job fair. Sect leader. Lu Qianqian whispered, we have to find an open space and set up a front like them so that we can meet the recruitment requirements and attract other people's attention. Since they were here, they had to do as the Romans did. Jun Chongshao looked around and pointed to the open space in the distance. Here is good. Lu Qianqian looked in the direction and frowned slightly. The Great Saber Sect on the left is an 8th-rate sect, and the Tiger's Hull Sect on the right is also an 8th-rate sect. Are you sure you want to put your front in the middle of them? Jun Chongshao said, since the two sects are 8th-rate, when the recruitment begins, it will definitely attract a lot of attention. We can more or less attract some attention if we are sandwiched in the middle. Lu Qianqian thought for a moment and said, it makes sense. Let's go. Jun Chongshao said, let's set up the front. He took Lu Qianqian to the gap between the two 8th-rate sects, skillfully took out cloth strips, and quickly set up a simple, small tent. This kind of perennial 100-sect recruitment was nothing more than a place to shelter from the wind and rain. Unless it was a flashy and powerful sect, it would be very luxurious. For example, the Great Saber Sect on the left and the Tiger's Howl Sect on the right. The two sects could be considered to have a bit of strength. The front was built luxuriously, and that was called extravagant. Compared with the simple tent set up by sect leader Jun, it was instantly turned into slag. Of course, this was what he needed. With two luxurious fronts on the left and right, his simple tent would easily attract other people's attention. Some people were eating and drinking. Jun Chongxiao's behavior was called freeloading, the glory of the scenery. After the manager of the Long Saber Sect finished talking with a young man, he saw a tent appear out of nowhere and shouted, which sect is so blind to dare to set up their front in front of my Long Saber Sect? The people of the Tiger's Hull Sect also noticed. A disciple rolled up his sleeves and fiercely said, Grandma, you dare to set up a camp next to my Tiger's Hull Sect? Did you eat a leopard's guts? Coincidentally, Jun Chongshao had just hung up the sect's banner. After seeing the words Ironbone Clan written on it, a deep disdain appeared on the faces of the two.
Bah.
The Tiger's Howl Sect disciple spat and said, a sect that was caught because the sect leader went to a brothel and set up a front next to my Tiger's Howl Sect. This is a great shame. Hey. The manager of the Long Saber Sect pointed at Jun Chongshao and impatiently said, this is my Long Saber Sect's territory. Hurry up and set up a front. The two sects did not put the Ironbone Clan in their eyes. After all, it was only a 9th-rate sect, one level lower than their 8th-rate sect. Lu Qianqian lightly said, the numerous sects' recruitment grounds have always been provided by the Qingyang city's city lord. When did it become your little 8th-rate sect's territory? Jun Chongshao was speechless. 8th-rate sects were just small under her poisonous tongue. His own sect was only a 9th-rate sect, so it must be even more unsightly. Hearing the words, little 8th-rate sect, the manager of the Long Saber Sect was burning with anger, but he was speechless.
Yes.
The venue was provided by the Qingyang city's city lord. Not to mention an 8th-rate sect, even a 7th-rate sect would not dare to say that it was their territory. The disciples of the Tiger's Hull Sect were also very angry because Lu Qianqian's little 8th-rate sect included their own sect. Jun Chongshao came out and mediated. The recruitment of the numerous sects is about to begin. We are the same as the numerous sects, so we should be friendly. There is no need to be so angry. If Master Wang was still here, I would regard the Ironbone Clan as a member of the numerous sects, but now. The manager of the Long Saber Sect despised him and said, not even a fart. Yes. The disciple of the Tiger's Hull Sect raised his eyebrows and said, a sect whose disciples have already eaten a disbandment meal should have been disbanded long ago. Why did they come to Qingyang City to join in the fun? Jun Chongxiao's face changed again and again. In the face of the ridicule of passers-by, he could endure it. After all, ordinary people liked to follow the trend. but being humiliated and ridiculed by two sects, he could not endure it. You too. He touched his nose and smiled. Today, I will build my front here. If you don't like it, you can come and bite me, or you can pack up your tent and get out. Chapter 8. Jun Changshao had set a goal for himself to develop in a low-key manner and avoid trouble. After coming to Green Sun City, he did not cause any trouble, but trouble took the initiative to find him. Especially after hearing two disciples from an 8th-rate sect speak rudely to him, Jun Changshao could not bear it anymore and began to verbally attack them. I'll go. The Tiger's Hall disciple was unhappy and said, You dare to tell my Tiger's Hall school to scram? Are you tired of living?
Swoosh, swoosh.
Several Tiger's Hall disciples who were resting rushed out of their houses. The Long Blade Gates people also came out. These disciples not only had the strength of a 4th or 5th level channel opening cultivator, but they were also muscular. Our great sect Master Jun's stature is rather thin. So, he looks rather weak as he is surrounded by these men. In fact, he can't withstand a single blow. What's going on? The Tiger's Hall School and the Long Blade Gate are going to fight. The martial artists from the nearby sects all gathered around. When they saw Jun Changshao, they realized that it was not a fight between sects, but a fight against the same person.
Huh.
Someone said in surprise, Isn't he the guy who claimed to be the second sect master of Iron Bone at the city gate? The Long Blade Gate and Tiger's Hall disciples were startled and said, This guy is the Iron Bone sect master? Seeing the expressions on their faces, Jun Changshao wished he could shout, I'm the sect leader. What's wrong with that? There is a problem. His strength is too weak, and he is too immature. At most, he is just a new disciple. The Long Blade Gates deacon cupped his hands and jokingly said, So you are the second sect master of Iron Bone. Sorry for the disrespect. The Tiger's Hall disciple grinned and said, Offending a sect master is too scary. Too scary? The hostile atmosphere weakened a lot under the two's ridicule and mockery. In fact, even if they had 10 times the courage, they would not dare to fight in Green Sun City. After all, the city lord had made it clear that private fights were prohibited. Jun Changshao said with a calm face, Everyone is surrounding my gate. Do you still want to recruit disciples? Ha ha ha. The Tiger's Hall disciple laughed. A sect without sect master, one wants to recruit disciples. What a joke. You can't say that. The deacon of the Long Blade faction held back his laughter and said, Perhaps some ignorant youngsters will join the Iron Bone clan. The Tiger's Hall disciple looked at the crowd, and the sneer on his face became even thicker as he said, Nowadays, it is easy to find a crippled youth, but it is not easy to find a blind youth. The two of them echoed each other, making the onlookers laugh. Iron Bone's prestige plummeted after sect leader Wang's incident. Whoever joined such a sect was absolutely blind.
AI.
Jun Changshao sighed. Surrounded by many muscular men, he returned to his house. Lu Qianqian whispered, Sect leader, do you want me to cut a hole in the ground for you to crawl into? Jun Changshao, who was originally fine, rolled his eyes when he heard this. Because they were in Qingyang City, the two 8th-rate sects did not dare to teach the Iron Bone sect leader a lesson, so after ridiculing him, they allowed him to sandwich his face between them. The onlookers also dispersed, but when they returned to their own houses, they began to talk about the Iron Bone. Their words were full of contempt and disdain. Jun Changshao acted as if he did not hear anything and reclined on the chair to take a nap. Sect leader, Lu Qianqian said, You are really broad-minded. Jun Changshao said, Living in this world, one should be broad-minded. Thinking a lot, caring a lot, living will be very tiring. Lu Qianqian felt that it was reasonable, but she asked, The 100 sects recruitment has begun. How confident are you that you can recruit disciples? Jun Changshao confidently smiled and said 100%. TCH, because their faces were close. The people of the Long Blade faction and the Tiger's Hall school heard it and snorted. This Iron Bone sect leader's cultivation was not high, and he was not old, but he was quite good at talking nonsense. Deacon Sunday, the Tiger's Hall School disciple, came out and shouted, "Since we are idle, why don't we make a bet?" "Oh." The Long Blade faction deacon smiled and said, "Bet on what?" The Tiger's Hall School disciple intentionally or unintentionally looked at the Ironbone Sect's face and said, "Let's bet on how many people will come to consult this trash sect when the recruitment begins." The trash sect was definitely referring to the Ironbone clan. "A bit interesting." The Longblade faction deacon smiled and said, "Might as well bet." The Tiger's Hall School disciple said in a clear voice, "I bet that on the day of recruitment, no one will come to consult. One tail." The Longblade faction deacon smiled and said, "In any case, it is still a member of the 100 sects. No matter how trash it is, there should be blind teenagers coming to consult. I bet that on the day of recruitment, one person will come to consult. One tail." One tail was not much. The two did not intend to bet, but mainly to mock the Ironbone sect. There was no other way. Who told Jun Changshao to build his sect in the middle of two eighth-rate sects? Borrowing light could be borrowed, but there must be a price to pay. Maybe it was because they had nothing better to do, but after hearing the bet between the Longblade faction and the Tiger's Hall School, all the martial artists began to talk. With the Ironbone sect's current situation, on the day of recruitment, no one will ask. Not to mention, the city is going crazy. How could an ambitious young man or woman join such a trash sect? It is strange. Why is that good-looking girl standing in front of the Ironbone sect? Is she a disciple? It can't be. How could such a lousy sect recruit such a beautiful female disciple? As the warriors from the various sects chatted, their gazes landed on Lu Qianqian. It had to be said. Wherever a beauty went, it was a beautiful scenery. "Qianqian," Jun Changshao said, "Come, massage this king's shoulders." Lu Qianqian's eyebrows wrinkled slightly. Jun Changshao lowered his voice and said, "So many people are watching, give me some face." Lu Qianqian walked over and gently raised her hand. Then, she started hammering rhythmically. This control of strength was no different from pounding a sandbag. Although Jun Changshao was in pain, although he was collapsing in front of everyone, he showed a very enjoyable look.
Damn.
It's really the Ironbone sect's disciples. Where is the justice? Seeing Lu Qianqian massaging Jun Changshao's shoulders, the martial artist's eyes were not only surprised, but also deeply envious. 3 days later, the recruitment of 100 sects began. Jun Changshao sat in a chair with his shoulders drooping, quietly waiting for the boys and girls to pour into the martial arts practice field. Lu Qianqian said, "Sect leader, do you need a shoulder massage?" No. Jun Changshao hurriedly said, "I still want to live for 2 more years." Because of the beginning of the recruitment, the sects were busy preparing, and no one paid attention to or laughed at the Ironbone sect. In the past few days of waiting, Jun Changshao had learned a lot from the mouths of the various sects, such as some villages and towns, and there were youths with good qualifications coming to participate in the recruitment. Although boys and girls can freely choose to join a sect, the sect also needs to verify the other party's qualifications to determine whether they are qualified or not. For example, the higher-level 8th-rate sects, they have a certain qualification requirement for recruiting disciples. The 9th-rate sects are more casual as long as they have a little qualification they can enter. In this 100 sects recruitment, the popular candidate that the sects are fighting to win over is Li Qingyang, a direct descendant of the Li family in Qingyang City. It is said that at the age of 15, this child was verified to have a high-grade spirit root. If such a genius can be brought into the sect, there will only be benefits and no harm. Jun Changshao muttered to himself, and suddenly noticed that the surroundings were quiet. He instinctively looked up and saw that the disciples of the 2 8th-rate sects were staring at him in shock. Pahaha! Li Qingyang is a rare genius in Qingyang City. Many big sects are fighting for him. This guy actually wants to recruit him. There must be something wrong with his brain. It's good to be young. You dare to think about anything. The crowd burst into laughter. Jun Changshao was speechless. If he unintentionally said a word, it would be magnified by them. Did he cross over and add all his attribute points to the hatred value? Sect leader. Lu Qianqian whispered, "Don't daydream." These words were like a knife, stabbing into Jun Changxiao's heart. He slumped in his chair and secretly howled, "Can I still be the sect leader?" Chapter 9. The recruitment of hundreds of sects began. Originally, there were only martial artists in the martial arts practice field, but in a short period of time, it welcomed a sea of young boys and girls. They had the dream of becoming a martial artist and actively inquired about the situation of each sect. The youths who participated in the recruitment must have the qualifications, and choosing a suitable sect would affect their life, so they must consider carefully. Gradually, there were more and more people. The faces of the various sects on the martial arts practice field were either in groups of 3 or 5, or gathered densely together, making it seem very lively. However, in stark contrast to that, there was a stark contrast. The face of the Ironbone clan, which was sandwiched between the Longblade clan and the Tiger's Hull clan, was never asked by anyone, not even a fly flew over. It was right to borrow the light. The passing youths would curiously look over. However, when they saw the words Ironbone clan, they hurriedly retreated, afraid of being unlucky. These few days, the Ironbone clan had spread like wildfire in Qingyang City. After the youths who participated in the recruitment heard about it from various channels, they would definitely not come to consult this kind of sect that had no future and destroyed their own future. Sigh. Jun Changxiao said helplessly, "Is my Ironbone clan that bad?" "Very bad," Lu Qianqian said straightforwardly. Jun Changxiao covered his chest and said weakly, "Qianqian, can you not attack my fragile heart?"
Yes.
Lu Qianqian said, "Sect leader, since no one is consulting, let's pack up and go back." Jun Changxiao was about to cry. This woman must have been sent by the heavens to deliberately attack me. The people of the Longblade clan and the Tiger's Hull clan were bragging about their sects in front of the inquiring youths, occasionally glancing at each other, and the disdain and sneers on the corners of their mouths became more and more intense.
Kid.
Recognize the reality, right? The face of the Ironbone clan had never been consulted by a youth. Compared with the bustling sects nearby, it seemed to be in a different world. Sect leader. Lu Qianqian said, "Pack up and leaves."
No.
Jun Changxiao continued to sit. He did not believe that with so many youths, no one really came to consult. Li Qingyang from the Li family is here. It was unknown who let out an extremely loud shout, but it immediately startled the disciples and higher-ups of the various sects, causing them to raise their heads and look. How could a single sentence cause such a huge commotion? Jun Changxiao thought to himself, "I want to see if this once-in-a-century genius is as handsome as me."
Schwa.
He stepped out and stood in front of the door. Through the gaps left by the crowd, he could see a man in white drifting over from a street that led to the training field. Jun Changxiao was startled. This person looks a little familiar. Lu Qianqian looked over and whispered, "Sect Master, he's the injured person who didn't even say thank you in the wilderness." With her reminder and the blurry figure of the injured person, Jun Changxiao said with certainty, "Yes, it's him." When Li Qingyang, who possessed a high-grade spirit root, arrived at the training field, it immediately caused a huge commotion. The aptitude of martial artists in the Falling Star continent was divided into low grade, mortal grade, middle grade, high grade, top grade, saint grade, and divine grade. The level of the spirit root represented the strength of one's martial arts aptitude, as well as the upper and lower limits of one's future cultivation. In a city like Qingyang City, a 16-year-old youth with a mid-grade spirit root was an existence that was 1 in 10,000. Half a year ago, Li Qingyang's martial arts test had actually revealed a high-grade spirit root. He immediately became the most dazzling existence and was hailed as the #1 genius in Qingyang City. When the city lord congratulated him, he praised him in public. "Li Qingyang is the future hope of my Qingyang City. If he cultivates diligently, it won't be a problem for him to step into the martial king realm." Li Qingyang's appearance had caused quite a stir in the various counties. Therefore, many sects from other counties had also come to participate in this 100 sects recruitment. Geniuses with outstanding spirit roots were urgently needed by any sect. After Li Qingyang appeared, the martial artists of the various sects swarmed over and throughout olive branches. Young Master Li, join my Iron Eagle sect. You will be the eldest disciple. What's so good about being the eldest disciple? Young Master Li, join our Azure Cloud sect and you will be a high and mighty elder. Bah, your Azure Cloud sect has at least 90 elders, if not 100. The number is almost as many as the disciples, and you still have the nerve to recruit young Master Li? Young Master Li, join our giant whale gang. You can use all the martial arts resources at will. Young Master Li, join our Rui Lane. Senior and junior sisters will serve you all day long. In order to rope in Li Qingyang, the various sects tried their best. Unfortunately, the number one genius of Qingyang City chose to bypass them and walk on the martial arts practice field filled with people. When he came to the 100 sects to recruit, he definitely had to find a sect to join. However, in his heart, these 8th and 9th rate sects were not in his consideration at all. Young Master Li, at this moment, an old man walked over and said with a smile, "Are you interested in joining my Song Mountain sect?" Song Mountain sect? The youths exclaimed one after another. Jun Chongshao said, "Qianqian, is that Song Mountain sect very powerful?" Lu Qianqian nodded and said, "Song Mountain sect is a 5th-rate sect in Qingyang County. There are many disciples and their strength and foundation are very strong." 5th rate. Jun Chongshao said in surprise, "It is quite powerful." The lowest level of the sects in the Falling Star continent was the 9th rate, and the highest was the super 1st rate. The 5th rate Song Mountain sect was considered a huge monster to Qingyang City. Moreover, below the 5th rate, one could only use the word sect. Only those above the 5th rate were qualified to use the word sect. If the Ironbone clan is also a 5th-rate sect, why would they worry about not being able to recruit disciples? Jun Chongshao thought to himself. Lu Qianqian said, "This person has a high-grade spirit root, and his talent is not bad. Joining a 5th-rate sect is the best choice at the moment. In that case, I have no hope of recruiting him." Jun Chongshao shook his head. Deacon Sun of the Long Blade sect walked over and said indifferently, "A genius like young Master Li, even the 5th-rate sects would fight for him. Your Ironbone clan should stop dreaming." Deacon Sunday, the Tiger Whistle sect disciple, laughed. "Don't forget, we still have a bet between us." Deacon Sun joked, "The recruitment has been going on for so long, but no one is interested in the Ironbone. It seems that I am going to lose." Just as the two of them were mocking Jun Chongshao, Li Qingyang made a decision and said, "Sorry, I am not interested in joining the Song Mountain sect." Oh my god. He rejected the invitation of a 5th-rate sect. Everyone widened their eyes. A direct descendant of the Li family with talent and spirit root was so willful. The elder of the Song Mountain sect did not expect that Li Qingyang would refuse so decisively. He still did not give up and said, "Young Master Li, my Song Mountain sect is one of the top sects in Qingyang County. Are you really not going to consider it?" Not considering. Li Qingyang walked forward. He did not even consider joining the Song Mountain sect. The 7th and 8th-rate sects that wanted to recruit him all gave up the idea. Li Qingyang continued to walk in the recruitment area. His every move affected the hearts of the youths and sections. The highest level in the 100-sect alliance this time was the 5th-rate sect. Since he was not interested, which sect could accept this great Buddha?
Soon.
Li Qingyang walked to the front of the Long Blade sect. Deacon Sun and the Tiger Whistle sect disciple hurriedly smiled and flattered him. It was impossible for such a genius to join their sect, but it was not bad to be in close contact with him. Li Qingyang habitually glanced at the Long Blade sect, then suddenly stopped. He first looked at Jun Chongshao, then looked at the front of the sect and said, "You are the sect leader of the Ironbone clan?"
Ga.
The surrounding martial artists were all stunned. The number one genius of Qingyang City, who had not spoken much since he came to the training field, actually took the initiative to talk to the sect leader of this trash sect. Chapter 10. Li Qingyang was a first-rate genius in the hearts of the sections. In the future, he would at least be a martial king. As for the Ironbone sect, it was a joke in the hearts of the sections. Maybe it would disband tomorrow and become an insignificant speck of dust in history. The gap between the number one genius and the trash sect was like heaven and earth. However, no one would have thought that Li Qingyang would stop in front of the Ironbone sect and take the initiative to talk. For a moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Jun Changshao. They all secretly thought, what did this trash sect leader do to make a genius take the initiative to talk to him? The flattering smile on the faces of the Long-Blade sect's deacon and the Tiger's Howl sect's disciple froze. The number one genius of Qingyang City, from the beginning to the end, didn't even look at them. Now he was standing on the side and talking to the trash sect leader. Was this a dream? Deacon's son raised his hand and pinched his face. He immediately felt the pain. It was not a dream. It was real. Li Qingyang, who had a high-grade spirit root and dared to refuse a fifth-rate sect, was really talking to the Ironbone sect leader. Yes, Jun Changshao said, I am the sect leader of Ironbone clan. Everyone snorted. Where did a sect leader of a trashy sect get the confidence to introduce himself in front of a genius so calmly and calmly? Young Master Li was the same. Taking the initiative to talk to the other party in public, was he not afraid of losing his status as the number one genius? In the eyes of the sects, Ironbone's sect was a piece of trash. Trash should be stored in a trash can in the corner and should not be the focus of everyone's attention. To put it bluntly, this was jealousy. Why did the high and mighty genius not talk to them and not talk to others, but talk to a piece of trash? Li Qingyang cupped his hands and said with shame, earlier in the wilderness, because I was in a hurry to go home, I left without even saying thank you. I was really rude. Please forgive me, sect leader.
Gah.
The cultivators of the sects were dumbfounded again. The tone of the number one genius of Qingyang City was obviously apologizing to that guy. Even Lu Qianqian, who was beside him, looked surprised. It was hard to imagine that the most outstanding genius of a city would apologize to the sect leader, especially in this kind of situation. Was his brain damaged? Look. Good intentions are always rewarded. Jun Changshao smiled brightly. His previous irritation vanished like smoke in thin air. He shrugged and said indifferently, Young Masterly, it's just a small matter. If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. Lu Qianqian, she clearly remembered that just now, the sect leader had muttered softly, a guy with a high-grade spirit root but no moral character. Just looking at him makes me unhappy. Li Qingyang smiled and said, Can you explain the Ironbone clan to me?
What?
The eyes of the martial artists from various sects almost popped out of their sockets. The number one genius of Qingyang City actually wanted to know more about Ironbone. Could it be that he had plans to join? At this moment, the Tiger's Howl School's disciple's face was extremely ugly. After all, he had purposely placed a bet to mock Jun Changshao. What were they betting on? 100 gambling sect recruitment began, and no one consulted Ironbone. What about now? Not only did someone come to consult, it was even the number one genius of Green Sun City, Li Qingyang. His face had been slapped so hard that it sounded like a resounding slap.
Ding.
Side quest triggered. Just as everyone was shocked, Jun Changshao heard a system prompt in his ears. He hurriedly opened the sect's system panel and saw the side quest explain the glorious history of the Ironbone clan and persuade the number one genius of Green Sun City to join. Jun Changshao could still accept the task of persuading Li Qingyang, but what the hell was explaining the glorious history of the Ironbone clan? A sect that had not been established for many years. A secluded sect with only one disciple. What glorious history did it have? Or was it that sect leader Wang was caught visiting a brothel, then failed to escape and was beheaded? Was that the most glorious history of the entire sect? This side quest was not reliable at all. Although Jun Changshao's heart was crumbling, in order to complete the quest and obtain contribution points, his brain began to work crazily. Although the Ironbone clan did not have a glorious history, he could make it up. After racking his brain, Jun Chongxiao said, "Young Master Li, in the eyes of the world, my Ironbone clan is nothing more than a secluded sect." Everyone coldly snorted. Since this guy knew himself, why did he shamelessly participate in the 100 gambling sect recruitment? However, Jun Chongxiao's face suddenly became serious. "In fact, my Ironbone clan was once an ancient sect with a long history and deep heritage." Ancient sect? Pahaha, don't joke around. It's clearly a sect that was casually established, yet he managed to link it to ancient times. This guy's brain must have a problem. The martial artists of the various sects laughed mercilessly. Lu Qianqian, who was standing behind him, had black lines appear on her face. To be able to link the Ironbone clan to an ancient sect, how thick did the sect leader's face need to be? How much courage did he have to do it? Li Qingyang asked with interest, "Can you tell me more about it?" Everyone's mouth twitched. Was there something wrong with the #1 genius of Green Sun City that he would listen to this guy's nonsense? That's right, that's right. Which normal person would reject a fifth-rate sect and consult a secluded sect? "Young Master Li," Jun Chongxiao said, "have you heard of the Eastern Sea?" Li Qingyang nodded and said, "I've heard of it." To the east of the falling star continent was a vast ocean filled with countless sea beasts. It was a very dangerous area. Jun Chongxiao said, "At the end of the Eastern Sea, there is a country called Aolai. Has young Master Li heard of it?" Aolai? Li Qingyang shook his head and said, "I've only heard of the Eastern Sea from books. I've never actually been there, so I don't know about the existence of a country." Not only did he not know, even the elders of Green Mountain sect present had never heard of Aolai. Jun Chongxiao said, "There are 2 sacred mountains in Aolai. One is Huagua Mountain, and the other is Ironbone Mountain. Our Ironbone clan originated from Ironbone Mountain. The first sect leader was called Sun Wukong, and his celestial title was Great Sage Equal to Heaven." This guy brought up Journey to the West. Although it was an awkward comparison, the martial artists of the Falling Star continent had never heard of it, so they were stunned by his words. Some people even thought that the Eastern Sea really had Aolai and Ironbone Mountain. A bunch of nonsense. At this moment, the elder of Green Mountain sect walked over and said, "The Eastern Sea is extremely dangerous. Even someone as strong as Wu Huang didn't dare to enter. The existing records have never mentioned Aolai, let alone Ironbone Mountain." That's right, that's right. I've read a lot of books since I was young, and I'm familiar with astronomy and geography. I've never heard of Aolai and Ironbone Mountain in the Eastern Sea. This guy is obviously making up a story. Damn it, do you think we're 3-year-old children? Everyone felt that their intelligence had been insulted, and they were very angry. "Old man," Jun Chongxiao said indifferently, "I can only say that you know nothing about the Falling Star continent." Everyone's mouth twitched. A newbie at the Meridian Opening Realm actually said that the elder of Green Mountain sect knew nothing.
Good, good.
The elder of Green Mountain sect suppressed his anger and said coldly, "This old man is ignorant. I'd like to ask sect leader Jun, who is this Sun Wukong you're talking about, and who is his master?" Making up a story? Then I'll ask more, and you'll give yourself away. Chapter 11. Give himself away? That was impossible. Even if Jun Chongxiao hadn't read the original Journey to the West, he had watched the TV series countless times. He could totally recite the story. He didn't even think about it, saying, "I am the first leader of Ironbone. I absorbed the essence of heaven, earth, sun, and moon. After countless years of nurturing, I broke out of the divine stone. My master is Grandmaster Bodhi of Lingtai Fengsuan Mountain." The elder of Tsong Mountain sect scolded angrily, "Humans are made of flesh and blood. How can they come out of the stone? Don't talk nonsense and mislead people." "Old man," Jun Chongxiao said disdainfully, "you know nothing about the evolution of thousands of creatures." The elder of Tsong Mountain sect was so angry that his face turned red. Jun Chongxiao said lightly, "I have answered all your questions. If you are not satisfied or want to hear more, you can continue to ask. The elder of Tsang Mountain Sect couldn't take it lying down. He wanted to continue asking, but Li Qingyang said first, I didn't expect Ironbone Sect to have such a long history. Everyone almost fell down. That Li family's direct descendant wouldn't really believe it, right?
But
Li Qingyang paused and said, what you said is only the once glorious Ironbone Sect.
what advantages do they have now?
What advantages do they have? Right. Even if he wasn't lying, even if Ironbone had a strong foundation, it was only a ninth-rate sect now. Sigh. Jun Changshao sighed and said, there is no such thing as eternity in this world. No matter how strong a sect is, there will be a day when it withers. Our Ironbone clan was not lucky enough to escape, and in the end, we declined to our current state.
Didn't fall.
Your Ironbone sect is not strong at all, okay? Young Master Li, Jun Changshao looked over and said meaningfully, but our sect is an ancient sect. Even if we fell from the altar, we still have a foundation. For example, the elixir you took before is the best proof. Elixir? Everyone was dumbfounded. Li Qingyang was silent. At that time, he was seriously injured and seemed to be unconscious, but in reality, he was conscious. He could vaguely remember that he had eaten a pill, and then his injuries had healed. When Jun Changshao made up the story earlier, he only treated it as a story. However, when he mentioned that he had benefited from the medicinal pills, he could not help but think that perhaps the Ironbone clan was not as simple as it seemed. Jun Changshao said, I want to revive the sect's former glory, and I need the assistance of a genius like you. Xiao Chen looked at the cultivators of the various sects who tried to rope in Li Qingyang earlier. Then, he said, I will find it difficult to fulfill the conditions they gave you. However, if you want to become a martial emperor, join the Ironbone Righteous Sect. Become a martial emperor? This guy really dared to say anything. Martial Emperor. They were the strongest cultivators on the Starfall continent, the gods that everyone revered. Jun Changshao, who was only at the 5th level of the Meridian Opening Realm, dared to let a person reach such a realm. His bragging ability was not ordinary. All right, Li Qingyang said straightforwardly, I'll join the Ironbone clan. A few simple words resounded in the air above the martial arts practice field. The faces of all the martial artists froze, as if they had turned into wooden stone statues.
Ding.
Congratulations to the host for completing the side mission. You have received 5 contribution points.
Ding.
Sect contribution points, 19100. Listening to the sound, Jun Changshao was a little dumbfounded. He thought to himself, it's done just like that? Qingyang City's #1 genius was fooled just like that? Qian. After being stunned for a moment, Great Sect leader Jun said in a clear voice, bring me the entry form. Lu Qian placed the form on the table.
Schwa.
Jun Changshao sat down elegantly and said, name. Li Qingyang. Gender.
Male. Age.
16 years old. Aptitude. High-grade spirit root.
Realm.
10th level of the Meridian Opening Realm. Jun Changshao almost fell off his chair. He, the great sect leader, was only at the 5th level of the Meridian Opening Realm. His second disciple had actually reached the 10th level of the Meridian Opening Realm, worthy of being the #1 genius of Qingyang City. Jun Changshao took out the sect leader's seal from his interspatial ring, exhaled, and stamped it on the entry form. From today onwards, you are a disciple of Ironbone School. Disciple is Li Qingyang. Li Qingyang cupped his hands and said respectfully, greetings, sect leader.
Ding.
Sect member, 3,100.
Ding.
Sect contribution points, 20100. Seeing that the members and contribution points had increased, Jun Changshao suddenly felt that the system's notification sound was very beautiful. No one would have thought that Li Qingyang, who had rejected a 5th-rate sect, would choose to join Ironbone School, let alone complete the entry procedures so quickly. The deacon of the Long Blade School sat on the ground and said stupidly, impossible, this must be a dream. The Ironbone school that he had always despised had recruited the #1 genius of Qingyang City. The reality was too cruel for him to accept. The disciples of Tiger's Hull School were also stunned. To be exact, when Li Qingyang joined the Ironbone school, everyone in the martial arts practice field was stunned. They all felt that they were dreaming, a ridiculous dream. Young Master Li, the elder of Tsongshan Sect, said in a deep voice, "You have a high-grade spiritual root. Your future is unlimited. Joining the unrated Ironbone school is destroying your own future." Old man. Jun Chongshao said with a cold face, "Although my Ironbone school is unrated, it is only temporary. Today, I will say that in a few years, we will definitely surpass your Tsongshan Sect." His voice was sonorous and powerful. This was serious, unprecedentedly serious. Because as a sect leader, he hated it when people looked down on and laughed at his own sect. He had to become stronger. He had to use his actions to slap their faces. "Surpass my Tsongshan Sect?" The elder of Tsongshan Sect sneered. "Kid, do you really think that you can make the sect stronger with just your mouth?" With his mouth. It was definitely impossible. Jun Chongshao dared to be so confident because he had the system, contribution points, and the sect store. You Falling Star continent martial artists rely on time and spiritual energy to cultivate. I will use contribution points and treasures to surpass you step by step. Old man. Jun Chongshao said, "Wait for the day when my Ironbone school becomes famous and shakes the continent." The elder of Tsongshan Sect snorted. "Good. I will wait for the day when the Ironbone school becomes famous." After saying that, he waved his sleeves and left. The best genius was taken away. There was no point in staying here, so he ordered the disciples to leave and prepare to return to Tsongshan Sect. Elder Ma. However, just as he was about to leave, a middle-aged man wearing a brocade robe quickly came to the practice field and said, "Please wait. It's the Li family head." Everyone recognized that he was the Li family head, Li Qingyang's father. The Li family head quickly came with a few servants and politely said, "Elder Ma, my son Qingyang is young and doesn't know any better. I accept your sincere invitation on his behalf." Li family head. The elder of Tsongshan Sect said unhappily, "Your son has already joined another sect."
What?
The Li family head was stunned. He looked at Li Qingyang in the distance and said with a serious face, "Brat, why didn't you wait for your father to come and make a decision on your own?" His voice came to an abrupt stop, and he saw the banner of Ironbone Unyielding Sect hanging above his son's head from the corner of his eye. In an instant, the master of the Li family felt a strong, ominous feeling rise in his heart. "As your son, which sect did you join?" Li Qingyang calmly replied, "Ironbone School." Chapter 12. Hearing his son mention the Ironbone Upright Sect, Patriarch Li felt as if he was struck by lightning, and his entire body was frozen in place, like a wooden chicken. Half a year ago, Li Qingyang was tested to have a high-grade spiritual root, which made him ecstatic. The Li family was also boiling and regarded him as the pride of the family. They could even imagine that the family would be even more glorious under the leadership of this junior. After the test, Patriarch Li provided his son with the best resources and also planned his future. He decided to choose a sect with a strong foundation and prestige after the recruitment of 100 sects began. Little did he know that today, while he was bathing and changing clothes, Li Qingyang sneaked away and searched the mansion, but couldn't find him. Brat. Did he go to meet that little bitch in private again? Unable to find Li Qingyang, Patriarch Li was so angry that he hesitated back and forth in the hall. At this moment, the servant hurriedly reported, "Patriarch, young master went to the recruitment venue first and was valued by the Five Streams Song Mountain Sect. They want to accept him as a disciple."
What?
Patriarch Li was overjoyed. Song Mountain Sect was the top force in Qingyang County, and its status was not inferior to the city lord of Qingyang City. His son was recruited by such a sect. Not only did he bring honor to his ancestors, but he also had a great future. But The servant paused and said weakly, "Young master rejected the recruitment of Tsang Mountain Sect's elders." "What?" Patriarch Li almost fell to the ground. The same two words, but with a different tone. One could tell that his mood fell from heaven to hell. That bastard kid's head was kicked by a donkey? That's why he rejected Song Mountain Sect's recruitment. No, no. This is a matter of life and the future of the Li family. We can't let him do as he pleases. As a result, Patriarch Li rushed to the recruitment venue with his men. He happened to meet the Song Mountain Sect's elders who were about to pack up and leave, so he accepted the invitation on behalf of Li Qingyang. And when he learned that his son had joined a sect, Patriarch Li subconsciously thought, could it be that there was a sect better than Song Mountain Sect? The result: that kid joined the Iron Bone Upright Sect. The Li family was a small scale in Qingyang City, and it was comparable to an 8th-rate sect. Patriarch Li couldn't accept his son joining a 9th-rate sect. After a short days, he said in a deep voice, "Qingyang, don't joke with father." "Father," Li Qingyang said, "I'm not joking. I'm now a disciple of the Ironbone clan." This sentence was a double blow. The Li family had trembled and couldn't help but take 2 steps back. "Patriarch." The servant hurried over to support him. The Li family patriarch steadied himself and pointed at Li Qingyang, his voice trembling as he said, "My Li family's face has been completely lost by you today." If his son joined a 6th-rate sect, he could accept it, but he could not accept joining Ironbone Sect. After all, it was only a 9th-rate sect. Furthermore, not only would such a trash sect have no future, it would also make the Li family a laughingstock. The martial artists from various sects who were watching the show laughed. The #1 prodigy of Qingyang City had a screw loose in his head. His father was still considered normal and knew that joining the Iron Bone gang would be a disgrace. "Young masters," the Li family servant hurriedly said, "don't make the patriarch angry. Quickly leave that trash sect."
Crack.
Jun Chongshao clenched his fists. Even a servant of a clan thought that his sect was trash. That was really annoying. "Father," Li Qingyang said seriously, "a person must be honest. Since I have joined the Ironbone Sect, I will not leave." "You," the Li family head was so angry that his teeth were trembling, "unfilial son." The Tsang Mountain Sect elder couldn't take it anymore and said, "Young Master Li, filial piety is the most important. You disobeying your father like this is unfilial." Li Qingyang's face was filled with hesitation and guilt. "It's over," Jun Chongshao said to himself. "The duck in my hand is about to fly away." After a while, Li Qingyang said with a firm gaze, "Father, I have followed the path you paved since I was young. Now that I am an adult, I should have my own choice." The Li family had pointed at the banner of the Ironbone Sect and said, "Joining a 9th-rate sect is your choice." "Yes," Li Qingyang said seriously. The Li family head was so angry that he almost vomited blood. His fingers trembled as he said angrily, "If you don't leave the Ironbone Sect, I will not be your father anymore." "Young Master Li, Ironbone Sect has no future. You should leave. There are so many excellent sects here. Any one of them is better than Ironbone Sect. Don't be so stubborn." The Li family head is not young anymore. If something happens to him because of anger, as his son, you will regret it for the rest of your life. "Young Master Li, please think twice before you act." The warriors of various sects who didn't mind watching the show all clamored. They didn't do it for the Li family head. They just didn't want to see a genius with a top-grade spiritual root from a trash sect. "A bunch of idiots." Jun Chongshao cursed silently. The Li family head. He cupped his hands and said, "Your son should choose his own life. As a father, I should support him and not stop him. Not to mention." He paused and said, "The Ironbone Sect is not as bad as you think. If young Master Li joins our sect, his future achievements will only be high. High, not low." The Li family had suppressed his anger and said coldly, "Does Ironbone Sect really think of itself as something important?" Jun Chongshao shook his head and said, "The Ironbone Sect is not an onion. It is a piece of jade waiting to be carved.
Bah.
A trash sect comparing itself to a piece of jade. How shameless. If I had a glib tongue like his, I wouldn't have to worry about not being able to trick disciples. The warriors of various sects scoffed. The Leaf family had said angrily, "My son joining Ironbone's sect must have been tricked by your sweet words." Jun Chongshao said in all seriousness, "As the sect leader of the Ironbone Upright sect, I have always taken in disciples seriously. I have never bothered to deceive people." The Leaf family had said coldly, "With your cultivation, you are not even as good as my family's guest. How dare you call yourself the sect head?" Jun Chongshao said, "Leaf family head, although my cultivation is not high, I can teach young Master Li and make him a powerhouse. This is enough." Damn, he really knows how to boast. Young Master Li is talented, and he wants to teach others? In my opinion, young Master Li can be the Ironbone sect head and teach him how to improve his cultivation. Everyone despised Jun Chongshao more and more, but they couldn't help but admire him. He was thick-skinned and could boast. He could be considered a talent. The Leaf family head became angrier and angrier. He wanted to point at Jun Chongshao and curse, but after all, he was a famous person in Qingyang City. He forced himself to suppress the thought. Sect head Jun at this moment, the Tsong Mountain sect elder said, "To make a disciple a powerhouse, he must first have an extraordinary understanding of martial arts. Since you are so confident, you must have rich martial arts experience, right? This old man is setting a trap for me." Jun Chongshao could tell that if he said he had martial arts experience, he would deliberately make things difficult for him. If he said he had no experience, the Li family head would definitely force his son to leave the sect. Sigh, so complicated. Chapter 13. In order to make a disciple stronger, one's own martial Tao might not be strong, but one must at least have a wealth of martial Tao knowledge and be able to give guidance during the cultivation process. Not to mention sects, even families and academies had corresponding martial Tao instructors. The Ironbone sect master had threatened to make Li Qingyang's achievements high, so the Blue Mountain sect's elder had no choice but to stand up and ask. It was indeed a trap. If Jun Chongshao said he had martial Tao experience, he would definitely ask for guidance. If he said no, Li family head would be angrier and firmly insist that his son leave the Ironbone sect. The older the ginger, the spicier it was. His words seemed to be amiable, but there was a hidden danger. He was deliberately trying to embarrass Jun Chong. The martial artists of the various sects all looked at him with disdain. A trash sect master with no cultivation, how could he have martial Tao experience? Jun Chongshao habitually rubbed his nose and said, "This king doesn't dare to be arrogant, but I also won't belittle myself. If we're talking about martial Tao experience, I should be stronger than anyone here." This guy's bragging is getting more and more outrageous. If it weren't for the prohibition of fighting in Qingyang City, I would definitely kick him. I also have the same impulse. The martial artists of the various sects couldn't listen anymore. They swore that since they started cultivating martial Tao, they had never seen such a pretentious and nonsensical guy. "Stronger than anyone here," Li family had said coldly. "This Li wants to ask for sect master Jun's martial Tao experience today." The Blue Mountain sect's elder smiled, but didn't say anything. He originally wanted to ask this question, but now that Li family had said it first, it was obviously the most appropriate. Jun Chongshao said, "What does Li family head want to ask for advice?" Although this guy looked calm, he was actually nervously opening the system store to search for martial Tao-related goods. It hadn't been long since he transmigrated and was only at stage 5, so he definitely didn't have martial Tao experience. At this time, Sect Master Jun could only rely on the system store and hope that there were martial Tao-related goods in the system store. Li family had said lightly, "Qingyang City has a sword technique that has been passed down for 100 years. It's called 9-style wave stacking sword. According to the introduction, there are 9 styles, but there are only 8 styles. The last style needs to be deduced." Since Sect Master June has martial Dao experience, you should be able to deduce the last style, right?
Ha ha ha.
Family Headley, you're really good at asking for guidance. The martial artists in Green Sun City laughed in schadenfreude. The 9-form stacking wave sword art was an extremely famous sword art in their city. As long as one was at the 5th stage of the channel opening realm, they could purchase it from the various martial skill shops. It was written very clearly on the first page of the secret manual. The sword technique had a total of 9 forms, but only 8 were recorded. The last form required the cultivator to evolve on his own. For more than 100 years, there were at least 900,000 martial artists who had cultivated the 9-move stacking wave sword technique, if not a million. However, from beginning to end, no one had been able to comprehend the final move. Rumor had it that the city lord of Green Sun City had comprehended the final move when he was young. But because it had never been used before, everyone knew nothing about the 9th move. 9 forms of wave stacking sword? The elder of the Tsongshan school murmured. He had heard of this sword art. Back then, he had even planned to buy the last move of the sword art. However, he gave up when he learned that it was only a low-level sword art. On the Falling Star continent, martial skills and mental cultivation methods were also divided into different grades. Just like spiritual roots, they were divided into low grade, common grade, medium grade, high grade, saint grade, and divine grade. The elder of the Tsongshan school had reached the peak of martial master. In the sect, he cultivated martial skills of common grade and above. Naturally, he didn't care about low-level skills. Speaking of which, if it was of a high level, how could it have become a popular sword art in Green Sun City? Sect Master June, the elder of the Tsongshan school, smiled. This old man has also heard of the 9 forms of wave stacking sword technique. If you can comprehend the 9th move, it proves that you have real skills. This old man was really good at fanning the flames. Jun Chongshao said proudly, "What's so difficult about comprehending a mere sword art?" Everyone sneered. For 100 years, very few people had comprehended it. If a noob like you could do it, then it would be strange. Li Qingyang was looking forward to it. He had also cultivated the 9 forms of wave stacking sword technique, but he was stuck at the 8th move and couldn't comprehend the 9th move. If the sect master could do it, it meant that he had followed the right sect and the right person. Under everyone's gaze, Jun Chongshao repeatedly scrolled through the beginner store, looking for items related to the sword art. However, he found nothing. It's over. Without these items, how can I show off?
Bah.
How can I comprehend the 9th move of wave stacking sword technique? Suddenly, Jun Chongshao's gaze stopped on the item called Talisman of Insight. He hurriedly clicked on the detailed introduction. This function of being able to see the detailed introduction of the item was discovered by chance. Item: Beginner's Talisman of Insight. Effect: After using it, you can see the opponent's martial arts and secret techniques, thus achieving rapid comprehension. Duration: 60 minutes. Price: 10 contribution points. Rapid comprehension? Jun Chongshao was secretly delighted. It should help me comprehend the 9th move of the sword art.
Schwa.
He directly tapped on the Talisman of Insight.
Ding.
Ho spent 10 contribution points and obtained Talisman of Insight X1. It has been transferred to the spatial ring.
Ding.
Sect contribution points: 10100. Jun Chongshao said, "Masterly, this seat has never cultivated the 9 forms of wave stacking sword technique that you mentioned. How can I comprehend the 9th move?" Pahaha, the best-selling sword art in Qingyang City. As the sect master, he has never cultivated it. Although the 9 forms of wave stacking sword technique is a low-grade sword art, the price is still 100 taels. With his poor appearance, he definitely can't afford it. Makes sense. This sword art needs to be comprehended 1 move at a time. God knows how long it will take for him to comprehend the 9th move. Everyone discussed in private. Master Li's face fell again. At that moment, he felt that he was being played by this guy like an idiot. Suppressing his anger, Master Li put on a fake smile and said, It just so happens that this Li has a 9 forms of wave stacking sword technique manual with me. Sect Master Jun can take it and study it. After saying that, he took out a blue-covered manual from his spatial ring. Many thanks. Jun Changshao raised his hand to receive it. Master Li said, however, this Li will say this first. If Sect Master Jun cannot comprehend the 9th move, please expel my son from the Iron Bone Sect. If his son doesn't leave, then let this Sect Master expel him. Master Li was certain that a person who had never practiced the 9 forms of wave stacking sword technique would find it difficult to comprehend the 5th or 6th move, let alone the 9th move. No problem. Jun Changshao agreed readily. Li family head was still worried. Sect head Jun, you have to keep your word. Don't worry. Jun Changshao said, my Iron Bone clan's motto is to be a person of iron bone and do things of iron bone. Naturally, we won't break our promises. After getting a satisfactory answer, Master Li threw the sword manual over. There were so many martial artists watching at the recruitment site. He didn't think that the other party would go back on his word. Of course. Jun Changshao took the sword manual and said, if this seat comprehends the 9th move, what will Master Li do? In the past 100 years, only the city lord had comprehended it. Did he really think that he could do it? Master Li sneered in his heart. On the surface, he cupped his hands and said, if Sect Master Jun comprehends the 9th move, my son Qingyang will be lucky to be able to cultivate in the Iron Bone Sect. With these words, Jun Changshao was relieved.
Who?
He took a deep breath and flipped through the sword manual. After seeing the complicated incantations and sword moves, he felt dizzy. Although he inherited the memories of the original owner and had some understanding of this world's martial arts secret manuals, he still felt like he was reading a heavenly book when he saw such a complicated sword manual for the first time. I hope the Insight Talisman can help me comprehend the sword manual quickly. Jun Changshao muttered to himself. His thoughts fused into his ring, and with a snap, he crushed the talisman that he had exchanged for. Xiao. A formless energy flowed into his knowledge, see through the ring. Jun Changshao felt the sky darken. That uncomfortable feeling disappeared quickly. When he came back to his senses, he looked at the incantations and sword moves in the sword manual. Everything was so easy to understand. Chapter 14. Jun Changshao, who crushed the Insight Talisman, looked at the sword manual again. He was overjoyed because he could understand the obscure sword techniques and strange sword moves at once. What was even more exaggerated was that the words printed on the sword manual seemed to be alive. They turned into streams of light and merged into the sea of consciousness. They began to arrange themselves and evolve on their own. Schwa. Jun Changshao memorized the first page of sword moves and turned to the second page. When he imprinted it in the sea of consciousness, he began to turn the third page, the fourth page, the fifth page, seeing him flipping through the sword manual. The faces of the martial artists from various sects were stunned. Sword manuals were different from martial arts. First, one had to be familiar with the sword techniques. Second, one had to be familiar with the sword moves. It was difficult for him to even remember the chant, let alone the sword moves. Did he choose to give up because it was difficult to comprehend? Whoosh! At this moment, Jun Changshao completely evolved the first move of the 9-style wave stacking sword in the sea of consciousness. Qian. He closed the sword manual and said, "Give me the sword."
Clang.
The sword was unsheathed and handed over. Jun Changshao took it from Lu Qianqian's hand and waved his wrist lightly. Whoosh! The 3-foot-long sword cut through the air, forming a wave of air visible to the naked eye. The wave of air formed during the sword's swing meant that he had comprehended the first move of the 9-style wave stacking sword. How could it be? The faces of the martial artists from various sects who were waiting to see a joke froze when they saw the wave of air. The Song Mountain sect elder was stunned. He didn't care about the wave-like airflow. What he cared about was that it didn't take long for this kid to comprehend the sword manual and skillfully perform the first move.
Yes.
Not long after. In Earth time, it was only 1 minute. For many people, 1 minute was enough to go to the toilet and didn't even take off their pants. Jun Changshao had already comprehended it. Impossible. The Tsong Mountain Sect elder secretly denied. As a peak martial master, although he could cultivate this kind of low-level martial arts, it would never be so fast. Unless he had been cultivating it before.
Schwa.
Jun Changshao turned his feet, retracted his arm, and waved his sword again. Hum. The second wave of air appeared and connected with the first. This was the second move of the 9-style wave stacking sword. It took him 1 minute and 5 seconds to comprehend it. At that moment, the martial artists from various sects opened their mouths. What a joke. How could this trash sect master comprehend the second move of the 9-style wave stacking sword in a few breaths? Li's face was full of disbelief. He deeply remembered that he had spent a total of 5 days to comprehend the second style back then. How did this guy do it? Or did he had practiced the 9-style wave stacking sword? Deliberately pretended he did Nestle and the Tsong Mountain Sect elder. Any normal martial artist would think so. After all, it was absolutely impossible to comprehend the first 2 moves of the 9 moves of the wave stacking sword technique in such a short time.
Lord.
With the support of the Insight Talisman, Jun Changshao really did it.
Schwa.
He brandished his sword once again, and a third wave of qi was formed, connecting the previous wave and the next wave. It was one. All the martial artists present only blinked a few times before sect leader Jun completely comprehended the third move and used it skillfully.
Terrifying.
Terrifying. Li Qingyang's eyes flashed. The sect master's comprehension speed is 10 times faster than mine. It seems that I followed the right person. Lu Qianqin thought the sect master's spirit root should be higher than second junior brothers.
Whoosh.
Whoosh. Jun Changshao was immersed in the sword technique. Layers of waves swarmed out. They stacked together and became more powerful, like endless waves. Wave after wave, layer after layer. That was the origin of the name of the 9-style wave stacking sword.
Whoosh.
Jun Changshao swung his sword again. Waves formed. 7 waves had gathered on the martial arts practice field. It took him only 1 minute and 30 seconds to comprehend the 7th move. Li's family master said disdainfully, "You clearly comprehended the 9-style wave stacking sword. How shameless." No matter how fast Jun Changshao performed the first 7 moves, he was sure that he had comprehended them before. That's what I said. How can a 9th-rate sect master comprehend the first 7 moves so quickly? It turns out that he had practiced them before. Damn, I was almost fooled by him. His acting skills are good. Look, that guy is still acting. When Jun Changshao once again performed the 8th move, another layer of waves was formed. The attention of the martial artist was not on this, but on his face. 9th-rate sect. His acting skills were first class. The Tsongshan sect elder said lightly, "No matter how good his acting is, as long as he can't perform the 9th move, he will still be exposed." This sentence was approved by everyone. You like acting? Such a big martial arts practice field is for you to perform on. But if he couldn't perform the 9th move, his previous performance could only be described as lame. Li's family master sneered with his hands behind his back.
Whoosh.
After performing the 8th move, Jun Changshao withdrew his sword and stood still. He was lost in thought, as if he was searching for the last move. I can't act anymore? Everyone ridiculed. Jun Changshao didn't hear the outside world, because when he was comprehending the sword art, he suddenly entered a wonderful level.
Gradually,
a faintly discernible aura gushed out from his body, emitting a sharp aura. The Tsongshan sect elder was stunned. The smile on Li's family master's face also froze. This is... Li Qingyang frowned slightly and said solemnly, "Sword realm." What? The martial artists of various sects heard this, and their eyes almost popped out. Sword Realm, also known as the Realm of Sword Intent. It was a kind of sword art level similar to Epiphany. If a martial artist triggered it and entered the Realm of Sword Intent, he could benefit a lot from it. My God, what kind of luck does this guy have? He actually entered the Sword Realm. Since ancient times, how many sword art martial artists have never had such an opportunity in their lives? Maybe because they were too shocked, some martial artists' voices gradually became louder. The Zhongshan sect elder said in a deep voice, "This kid has entered the Sword Realm, which is a great opportunity. Don't disturb him." The martial artists of various sects who had other thoughts hurriedly shut their mouths. The Zhongshan sect elder stopped the crowd in time and didn't disturb. He wasn't a bad person. The reason why he targeted Jun Chongxiao was that he didn't want Li Qingyang to go astray and waste such a good spiritual route. Because of the Zhongshan sect elder's reprimand, the martial arts practice field was silent. The martial artists of various sects were full of envy and jealousy. It was an opportunity that could only be found by chance. It was really unreasonable for a piece of trash to encounter it. Whoosh! Jun Chongxiao, who had been in a trance, suddenly flashed a sharp luster in his eyes. He waved his right arm, and the long sword frequently waved in the void. Whoosh! 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 The first move, second move, third move. When he performed the first 8 moves in one breath, he tiptoed, jumped into the air, and slashed down with his sword. Whoosh whoosh. The 8 ripples in the air were attracted and quickly gathered together, turning into a white sword light and bombarding the boulder outside the practice field. Bang! With a loud explosion, the boulder weighing thousands of pounds shattered on the spot. Hiss! Seeing this, the martial artists of various sects gasped in shock. Chapter 15. The boulder outside the martial arts practice field weighed a few thousand kilograms, yet it was shattered by Jun Chongxiao's sword. Everyone gasped in shock. The martial artists present were either at stage 8 or 9 of the channel opening realm, or had reached the level of martial disciple. It was possible for them to break a boulder. However, they clearly saw that Jun Chongxiao's martial Dao aura was only at stage 5 of the channel opening realm. It was already unbelievable that he could break a few thousand kilograms boulder. At the channel opening realm, every meridian opened would increase one's strength by 100 kilograms. Even if one was born with divine strength and was at stage 5 of the channel opening realm, they could only exert 1,000 kilograms of strength at most. It was impossible to break a 2,000-kilogram boulder. Unless, swoosh. Jun Chongxiao floated down and smiled. Patriarchally, this is the 9th form of the 9 forms wave stacking sword technique. I have already deduced it. All the martial artists looked over and locked onto the sword in his hand. They did not find anything special about it. A high-quality weapon could provide a martial artist with more strength. Jun Chongxiao's sword was ordinary, which meant, oh my God. Could that really be the 9th form? I heard that if one could comprehend the 9th form of the 9 forms wave stacking sword technique, the power formed would not be weaker than a mortal-grade martial technique. While everyone was discussing, they had an answer in their hearts. A stage 5 of the channel opening realm, and an ordinary weapon could break a few thousand kilograms boulder. Only the 9th form, which was comparable to a mortal-grade martial technique, could do so. Thinking of this, everyone's expression became interesting. It was rumored that only the city lord could comprehend the 9th form. Today, a 9th-rate Ironbone sect leader had actually deduced it. This was a heavy blow, a merciless slap to the face. Patriarch Li said in disbelief, "How is this possible?" The Blue Mountain sect elder's gaze was complicated. After a while, he cupped his hands and said, "Sect leader Jun, I am extremely impressed to be able to deduce the 9th form in such a short time." This was heartfelt admiration. "You flatter me." Jun Chongxiao returned the sword to Liu Qianqian. With his hands behind his back, he displayed the demeanor of a master. Patriarch Li had mixed feelings. He originally thought that he could use the 9 forms wave stacking sword technique to stump him. He did not expect that the ninth form, which no one had comprehended in 100 years, would be displayed. Patriarch Li, Jun Chongshao said, "Now that I have evolved the ninth style, can your son stay in my Ironbone clan?" Patriarch Li was silent. Using the ninth move of the nine-style wave stacking sword technique had shocked and surprised him. But it was a low-level sword technique after all. He still didn't think that his son would have a future if he followed him. Patriarch Li, Jun Chongshao said, "You should be a man of your word." Patriarch Li's face turned ugly. Just then, the elder of the Tsang Mountain sect cupped his hands and said, "Sect Master Jun has an extraordinary understanding of martial arts. I have a problem here that I hope you can solve."
Please speak.
Jun Chongshao said. He had only used 2 minutes to comprehend the 9 forms of the wave stacking sword, so there was still quite a bit of time left. If he continued to perform well, he would be able to build up prestige for himself and his sect. Songshan Sect's elder said, "This Ma has been practicing a kind of mental cultivation technique all these years, but it's difficult to improve after comprehending it to the 4th level. I hope Sect Master Jun can give me some pointers." All the martial artists were shocked. An elder of the 5th stream Tsang Mountain sect, a genuine martial master, was asking a 9th stream sect master for advice. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, it would have been hard to believe. Jun Chongshao said, "If Elder Ma is willing to tell me the chant of the mental cultivation technique, I can give it a try." Songshan Sect's elder smiled and stood motionless. A martial artist lowered his voice and said, "Elder Ma is communicating with that guy using the sound transmission technique. Only when you enter the martial master realm can you use the sound transmission technique without batting an eyelid. I really hope that I can reach this level one day." Everyone was envious when they heard this. In the Falling Star continent, every time a martial master reached a higher level, they would develop special abilities. The sound transmission technique was one of them. A moment later, after learning the chant, Jun Chongshao said, "It's not a big problem." Songshan Sect's elder was a bit depressed. The mental cultivation technique he mentioned was at the mortal level. After studying it for more than 10 years, he had only cultivated it to the 4th level. But he actually replied with, "It's not a big problem." Jun Chongshao stood still and closed his eyes. The mental cultivation technique he memorized was running and analyzing in his mind. "Elder Ma." A moment later, Jun Chongshao whispered in his ear. The martial artists couldn't hear the content clearly, but they could clearly see the elder's expression. He was first stunned, then suddenly enlightened, and finally ecstatic. Jun Chongshao said, "According to my advice, go back and cultivate for a month or 2. You should be able to break through to a higher level." Swoosh. Songshan Sect's elder excitedly said, "The mental cultivation technique has puzzled this Ma for several years. Today, after listening to Sect Master Jun's words, I feel enlightened." Li family head was dumbfounded. That guy really solved Elder Ma's martial Dao problem? Jun Chongshao said modestly. Elder Ma is confused by the situation. If it were someone else, they would also be able to solve his problem. Songshan Sect's elder shook his head and said, "Without Sect Master Jun's profound understanding of martial Dao, it would be impossible to solve this Ma's problem. To be able to receive such high praise from Elder Ma, that guy should be capable. Could it be? Is there really someone in this world who has such a high understanding of martial Dao despite not having a high cultivation?" The martial artists of various sects secretly criticized. Sect Master Jun, Songshan Sect's elder cupped his hands and said, "This Ma has to return to the sect to deal with some matters. If we meet again in the future, I will definitely ask for your guidance." After receiving guidance, he would definitely be eager to go back and cultivate in seclusion. He would strive to break through the 5th level of the mental cultivation technique and enter Wuzong from martial master. Jun Chongshao cupped his hands and said, "See you again." Songshan Sect's elder didn't hesitate and left with his disciples. He couldn't wait to go back to the sect and cultivate in seclusion. Watching Elder Ma leave, a middle-aged man came over with a trembling smile and said, "Sect Master Jun, I also have a problem in martial Dao.
I hope you can give me some advice.
Of course, of course. Jun Changshao said, but you have to pay me 100 taels first. Songshan's sect was a fifth-rate sect after all. He gave Elder Ma face and was obliged to give him advice, but these 8th-rate and 9th-rate sects had to pay for their services. Of course, of course. The middle-aged man hurriedly handed over a banknote worth 100 taels. In his opinion, if he could even solve Elder Ma's martial Dao problem, it was worth it for him to spend 100 taels. Jun Changshao took the banknote and said, "Please speak." The middle-aged man was afraid of being overheard, so he hurriedly leaned over and whispered his martial Dao problem. Jun Changshao used his insight to quickly analyze the martial Dao that the other party mentioned and gave him the correct advice in a low voice. "That's right." The middle-aged man slapped his forehead and said, "Why didn't I know how to be flexible?" "Thank you for your guidance, Sect Master Jun. This Jin will take his leave first." Seeing that guy leave, no matter how stupid the martial artists of various sects were, they could see that the Iron Bone Sect Master was truly talented. "Sect Master Jun, this Chong has a problem. Please, 100 taels." Of course, of course." The martial artist surnamed Chong hurriedly paid the money. After receiving his guidance, he happily left. As a result, many martial artists who had encountered problems in martial Dao gathered around. Many of them had mocked Jun Changshao before. It's fine, it's fine. I remember it all in my heart." Want to receive guidance? Sure, pay 200 taels. Although the martial artists who mocked Jun Changshao were devastated, they still painfully paid and received satisfactory answers one by one. Chapter 16. In any world, the importance of money was self-evident. Not to mention weapons and martial arts, even daily necessities like rice, oil, and salt needed money. Iron Bone Sect didn't have any money because the previous disciples used their limited assets to use their connections, hoping to save sect leader Wang from prison. The result? Less than half a day after the money was sent, sect leader Wang was executed for breaking out of prison. Iron Bone Sect was already living a tight life, but now it was one disaster after another. The two disciples couldn't bear it anymore. After eating their last meal, they went back to their own homes. Jun Changshao, who had transmigrated, stayed in the sect for a few days. He ate steamed buns and drank shanshui water for 3 meals a day. The noodles that Lu Qianqian ate when she joined the sect were also from Andy Wang in the village. Iron Bone Sect wanted to develop, but they also needed to earn money. Therefore, sect leader Jun used the insight talisman that hadn't expired yet and started making money for the first time in this world. Didn't laugh at him for needing pointers? 100 taels. Didn't they laugh at him and at Iron Bone for needing pointers? 200 taels. This was a small business, so no bargaining was allowed. Because he comprehended the 9th move of the 9 forms overlapping wave sword technique and gave pointers to the elders of Songshan sect, the martial artists were still willing to spend money to ask for pointers. In a short 30 minutes, Jun Changshao gave pointers to 20 martial artists and earned more than 3,000 taels. Looking at the increasing amount of banknotes in his spatial ring, he thought happily, although I can't sell medicine, I can use the items in the shop to earn money. Sect leader Jun, just as he gave pointers to a martial artist, Li family head came over and said with difficulty, "I also have a problem here. I hope you can give me some pointers." The 9 forms overlapping wave sword technique was just to make things difficult. Now that he saw so many people leave happily after receiving pointers from him, he was completely moved and wanted to solve the martial arts problem that had troubled him for many years. "Okay," Jun Changshao said, 1,000 taels.
What?
Li family had almost lost his balance and said in shock, 1,000 taels. Jun Changshao said, "Yes, 1,000 taels." The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. This guy was obviously making things difficult for Master Li on purpose. It must be because he had stopped his son from joining Iron Bone. Sect Master Jun, Patriarch Li was on the verge of collapsing. Others can't afford more than 200 taels. Why do I have to pay 1,000 taels? Jun Chongshao said, looking at Master Li's outfit. I think you don't lack money. Hearing this, Patriarch Li almost fainted from anger. That's right, I have money, but money doesn't come from nowhere. Sect Master Jun. Patriarch Li said in a deep voice, Are you taking me for a fool? Jun Chongshao smiled and said, You can understand it that way. The Li family head was furious. Thinking that he had a favor to ask, he forcefully suppressed his anger. Sect leader, Li Qingyang stepped forward and said, Please give father a discount on account of your disciple. Jun Chongshao rubbed his chin and pondered for a moment, then said, All right, since you are the father of my disciple, I'll give you a discount of 1 tael. The cultivators of the various sects almost fell over. A discount of 1,000 taels to 1 tael. This was unheard of. Since he wanted to keep Li Qingyang, he definitely wouldn't deliberately make things difficult for Patriarch Li, so Jun Chongshao only gave him a token price of 1 tael to help him solve his martial arts problem. So that's how it is. Patriarch Li, who had received guidance, seemed to have been enlightened. Previously, when he had evolved the 9th style, he still had doubts. Now that the martial arts problem that had puzzled him for many years had been solved, he completely approved of Jun Chongshao. My son is in Iron Bone. Under his guidance, his future achievements will definitely be high. Not only Patriarch Li, but the cultivators of the various sects who benefited from his guidance also realized that the person they had underestimated was not simple. One insight talisman allowed Jun Chongshao to earn a lot of money and prestige. It could be said to be killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Wrong.
It was killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Because while Jun Moxia was helping them, he was also helping them learn all kinds of martial arts techniques. Although the level of these techniques was low, but sword techniques, fist techniques, heart techniques, and palm techniques were all there. If they were to be bought with money, it would cost at least a few thousand taels. Big profit, big profit. Everyone. Jun Chongshao looked a little tired after he had given guidance to another cultivator. This master is tired. Let's stop here. Don't, Master Jun. The cultivators who hadn't been in line became anxious. A cultivator took out 4 silver notes and said, Master Jun, I am willing to pay 400 taels. Jun Chongshao shook his head and said, Helping you with your martial arts has consumed too much of my energy. It would be difficult to recover in 10 days or half a month. He wanted to continue making money, but the insight talisman's time limit had expired after he had given guidance to the previous cultivator. Jun Chongshao had originally planned to exchange for another talisman, but when he opened the store, he saw that the insight talisman had a dark gray color, and the annotation was this item can only be purchased once per month. Damn it! The healing pill was limited, and the talisman was also limited. Can't I play happily? Can't I make money happily? Without the blessing of the insight talisman, Jun Chongshao was equivalent to being beaten back to his original state, so he could only show a very tired look. Sigh. The cultivators of the various sects returned to their homes in frustration, and the originally interrupted recruitment of 100 sects continued. Qingyang. Patriarch Li said, Follow Master Jun and cultivate well. Don't let your father down. Li Qingyang nodded. Patriarch Li chatted with Jun Chongshao for a while with a flattering tone, then hurried back to the Li family and went into seclusion to digest the guidance he had received. Father, I want to join Iron Bone. Father, Mother, I've thought about it. I want to join Iron Bone. Gooden, what are you waiting for? Let's go and register at Iron Bone. The recruitment of 100 sects resumed, and the boys and girls who were originally considering which sect to join swarmed into Iron Bone's front, scrambling to register. When Li Qingyang joined the Iron Bone clan, they were moved. After witnessing Jun Chongshao giving pointers to the elders of Song Mountain sect, and even the cultivators of the various sects, they naturally did not hesitate to register. Just now, the sects were bustling with noise and excitement, but no one cared about Iron Bone. Now, the sects were empty, but Iron Bone's front was full of people. Don't push, don't push. Jun Chongshao shouted, one by one. Qingyang. Don't just stand there. Come and help. Because there were too many young boys and girls signing up, Jun Chongshao was suddenly in a hurry. No. There were too many people. He had to choose the best. Jun Chongshao ordered the first and second disciples to let the applicants fill in the entry form and then decide whether to accept based on aptitude and cultivation. The main task given by the system was to make Ironbone Clan the strongest sect. What was considered strong? It must be that the sect was strong, and the disciples had to be strong too. Randomly choosing a group of ugly melons and cracking dates, the number of people was enough, but the strength was not enough. The sect level could not be raised, and in the end, it would be a waste of effort. Jun Chongshao was very clear that what he needed now was elite troops, so he secretly requested that those who enter the Iron Bone must at least have a middle-grade spirit root, and if it was a high-grade spirit root, it would be even better. However, after some statistics, out of the hundreds of teenagers who signed up, only 10 had a middle-grade spirit root. The others were either low-grade or mortal grade, and as for high-grade spirit roots, there was no such thing. Although Qingyang City was the main city of Qingyang County, it was still a small place after all. It was already very good for Li Qingyang to have a high-grade spirit root. Bad is bad. But let's first expand the number of people in the sect to the limit of 100. Jun Chongshao picked up the sect master's seal and stamped it on the entry form for those with middle-grade spirit roots.
Ding.
Sect members, 4,100.
Ding.
Sect contribution points, 11100. Chapter 17.
Ding.
Sect member, 53,100.
Ding.
Sect contribution points, 60,100. Jun Chongshao continued to stamp and soon recruited 50 disciples. The system prompt sounded frequently in his ears. It was wonderful and comfortable. Among the newly recruited members, 10 were middle-grade spirit roots, and the remaining 40 were all mortal-grade spirit roots. The martial artists who were watching from afar were full of envy. As far as they knew, this year's recruitment of more than 10 middle-grade spirit roots and 50 to 60 mortal-grade spirit roots were almost all recruited by Iron Bone.
Sigh.
Today's work was in vain. They could only wait for the next session. The martial artists were very depressed. Jun Chongshao continued to stamp and recruit disciples with low-grade spirit roots. There was no other way. In order to gather 100 people, they could only choose from the short ones. Moreover, even if the spirit root talent was poor, it could be cultivated.
Ding. Ding.
Sect member, 100,100.
Ding.
Sect contribution points, 107,100.
Ding.
Sect member is full. The host needs to increase the sect's construction and expand the upper limit before continuing to recruit disciples. Reminder: if you forcibly recruit disciples after the sect is full, you'll be severely punished. Sect contribution points overflow. The host must spend them within 24 hours. Otherwise, the overflow will be automatically deducted. Sect member is full. Conditions met.
Ding.
The system automatically opened the sect's achievement points and sect missions for the host. Jun Chongshao was startled and hurriedly opened the data panel. Sect name: Iron Bone Clan. Sect leader: Jun Chongshao. Sect level: 9th rate. Sect construction: level 1. Sect member: 100,100. Sect contribution points: 107,100. Sect achievement points: 0 out of 100. Sect mission: none. Sect main mission: within 100 years, make Iron Bone Clan the strongest sect in the Falling Star continent with 100,000 disciples. If it is not completed, when the time is up, the host's soul will be destroyed. System: Jun Chongshao was puzzled. What the hell are sect achievement points and sect missions? The system replied, Disciple has accepted a sect mission and completed it. Disciple will receive the corresponding sect achievement value. Jun Chongshao understood and asked, What's the use of achievement value? The system explained, Once the achievement value reaches the maximum, The sect can be upgraded. Jun Changshao was startled and said, "Didn't you say that recruiting disciples can upgrade the sect's construction? Why is there another sect contribution point?" The system calmly explained, "Recruiting disciples can activate the sect's mission. Completing the sect's mission can improve the sect's construction. There is no contradiction between the two." Jun Changshao was speechless. He temporarily ignored the sect's contribution points and missions and placed his focus on the contribution points. The extra contribution points would be deducted in 24 hours, so he had to spend them quickly. Jun Changshao skillfully opened the beginner's shop and carefully browsed through the items one by one. In the end, he chose the beginner-grade cold-edge sword.
Ding.
The host has spent 10 contribution points and received the primary grade Cold Edge, Sword X1. It has been transferred into the space ring.
Ding.
Sect contribution points, 97100. When Jun Changshao retracted the panel, he took a look at the beginner grade Cold Edge sword that he bought and found the note on it, limited to 45 purchases this month. Heaven-defying pills and talismans are limited to 1 purchase per month, while weapons can be purchased 5 times. What a scam! The reason why Jun Changshao chose the sword was because he had cultivated the 9-style stacking wave sword technique. Although the level of this sword technique was low, the 9th style was quite strong. Show. His mind entered the space ring. Jun Changshao saw a sword floating next to the time bomb. There were 2 beads embedded in the scabbard, flickering with a weak blue light.
Pa.
Walking up, holding the beginner-grade cold-edge sword, he immediately felt a cold aura seeping into his palm. "It's quite cold. I wonder what the quality is." Jun Changshao held the sword hilt and gently pulled it out. With a chong sound, the 3-feet-long sword was unsheathed.
Hoo-hoo.
A cold aura hit him in the face, making him shudder. The beginner-grade cold-edge sword's width and length were no different from ordinary swords, but there was a faint cold aura lingering around the sword, giving off an extraordinary feeling. Although Jun Changshao's understanding of swords was not high, he still praised from the bottom of his heart. "Good sword." Sect leader. Lu Qianqian said with a sullen face. "Who are you calling cheap?" Jun Changshao hurriedly withdrew his thoughts and laughed. "I'm talking about myself." Li Qingyang and the others were speechless. Calling himself cheap, our sect leader is a bit strange. Lu Qianqian rolled her eyes at him and said lightly, "Many people are waiting. Hurry up and stamp the sect leader's seal." "No need," Jun Changshao said. "These members are just right. If I take in too many disciples, I won't be able to raise them." The system had already reminded him that if he forcefully took in disciples after the quota was full, he would be punished, so he did not dare to act rashly. Moreover, the remaining boys and girls all had low-grade spirit roots and were only at the first level of the channel opening stage, so there was no value in taking them in.
Qingyang.
Jun Changshao snapped his fingers and said, "Pack up, let's go."
Ah.
Not recruiting anymore? Sect leader Jun, please consider, even if you want me to be a disciple in name. Even if I have to do odd jobs, I iron on yo. Am willing. Many boys and girls begged. Jun Changshao said helplessly, "My Iron Bone clan is small. We can't accommodate too many disciples. If you want to join, you can come to Qingyang village when you become a martial disciple."
Sigh.
The boys and girls left in disappointment. They knew that without an outstanding teacher, resources, and opportunities, breaking through to martial disciple on their own would be impossible. Sect leader Li Qingyang said, "Put away the door.
We can set off now."
Let's go." Jun Changshao waved his sleeves and left. When he first came to Qingyang City, he only had 1 disciple, and he was very poor. Now that he was leaving, he had money, martial skills, and disciples. It was definitely a great harvest.
Stop.
However, before he left the martial arts field, a cold shout came from behind. Jun Changshao stopped and looked back. He saw a middle-aged man in a blue robe, surrounded by dozens of young disciples, walking over. It's Elder Wei Inu of the Spirit Spring Sect. His face is a bit ugly, Is he looking for trouble with the Ironbone clan? Elder Wei has a bad temper. If anyone offends him and the disciples of the sect, he will definitely not let it go. The martial artists of the various sects discussed in low voices, fear in their eyes. Those who were closer, seeing Wei Inu walking over with his disciples, subconsciously took a few steps back to make way. Seeing this, Jun Changshao thought, this guy is only from the 9th Stream Spirit Spring sect. Why are so many martial artists of the 8th Stream sect afraid of him? The reason was simple. Wei Inu had a total of 4 brothers, named after happiness, anger, sorrow, and joy. They were once disciples of the 5th Stream sect, the Holy Spring sect. After they succeeded in their cultivation, they went down the mountain and established the Spirit Spring sect. The eldest brother became the patriarch, and the other 3 brothers became elders. The martial artists of the various sects were not afraid of the Spirit Spring sect, but of the Holy Spring sect. Chapter 18. Jun Changshao didn't know anything about the Spirit Spring sect, so he smiled and said, "What's the matter?"
Of course there's something.
Wei Inu strode over, his eyes full of disdain. "You beat up my Spirit Spring sect's disciple. How can you leave so peacefully?"
What?
Beat up a Spirit Spring sect disciple. Ironbone is in trouble. Last year, an 8th rate sect's disciple beat up a Spirit Spring sect disciple. As a result, the head of the sect personally brought all the disciples to apologize. What happened next? The disciple who beat up the disciple was crippled and expelled from the sect. The 8th rate sect compensated the Spirit Spring sect with a lot of silver. So, Ironbone is really in trouble. Everyone discussed in low voices, looking at Jun Changshao with some sympathy in their eyes. The deacon of the Longblade sect coldly snorted. Provoking the Spirit Spring sect is equal to provoking the King of Hell. Little brat, just wait for your bad luck. The martial artists of various sects paid Jun Changshao to teach them martial arts, but he and the Tiger's Hull sect disciples didn't go. After all, they were the ones who ridiculed them the most and didn't have the face to ask for advice. Now that the Spirit Spring sect's elder appeared, their twisted mentality was instantly aroused. They wanted to see that guy being humiliated and bullied. "So you're from the Spirit Spring sect?" Jun Changshao pretended to be enlightened and nodded. "Yes, I beat them up. He calculated and said, "There should be 5 of them."
5?
The martial artists of various sects twitched their mouths. Last year, when an 8th rate sect's disciple beat up one, the head of the sect brought all the disciples to apologize. Now that you beat up 5, there's no chance of reconciliation. Wei Inu lightly said, "Since head Jun admits it, I will seek justice for the disciples who were beaten up."
Ding.
Side quest triggered. There's another quest? Jun Changshao hurriedly opened the status panel and saw the side quest. Teach a lesson to the Spirit Spring sect's elder who came looking for trouble 0 to 1. Elite quest. Elite quest? As an Earthling, Head Jun had played online games before. There were elite quests, most of which required players to deal with a small boss. Elite quests were usually difficult, but the rewards were also very rich. Interesting. Jun Changshao took back the attribute panel and rubbed his nose. "Your disciple molested a female disciple of my sect. I'm kind and only gave them a small punishment. How dare you fucking lick your face and ask for justice in front of me?" The martial artists of the various sects were all dumbfounded. The Ironbone sect leader had already brought the motherfucker out. Wasn't he afraid of angering the other party and causing things to develop to an irreconcilable point? One was looking for trouble, while the other wanted to complete the mission. Adjustment. It simply did not exist. The deacon of the Longblade Martial School and the disciple of the Tiger Whistle Martial School were secretly delighted. Daring to swear in front of the irascible Spirit Spring sect elder, this was definitely courting death. True enough. Wei Inu's face darkened, and his eyes flickered with anger as he said, "Brat, you're fucking courting death."
Crack.
Clenching his fists, 12 rays of light appeared on his wrists. His face, Jun Chongshao said disdainfully, and here I thought that the elder of the Spirit Spring sect was some big shot. Turns out he's just a trash at the 12th stage of the channel opening realm. Everyone was speechless. You're the sect leader, but your strength is at most at the 5th stage of the channel opening realm. You have the nerve to say that. Hearing the word trash, Wei Yinu's anger became even stronger. He immediately pointed to the side and said, "Little bastard, you have the guts to challenge me on the grievance stage."
Schwa. Schwa.
Everyone moved aside, and a stone platform about 10 meters long and 3 meters high appeared behind them. This was the grievance stage of Qingyang City. There was one in each of the 4 districts. Martial artists were not allowed to fight in the city. If there were any grievances, they could settle it on the stage. Elder Wei has issued a challenge. Everyone exclaimed. In a world where martial arts were respected, a martial artist issuing a challenge to another martial artist was a very serious matter. Will sect leader Jun accept the challenge? If the disparity in strength is too great, he has the right to refuse the challenge. Although sect leader Jun has rich martial arts experience, his cultivation is very low. He probably won't accept the challenge. That's true, but he is the sect leader. Since Elder Wei has issued a challenge, according to his position, he must accept the challenge. While everyone was discussing, they kept looking at Jun Chongshao. After all, no matter how much they guessed, the decision of whether to accept the challenge or not was up to him. Sect leader. Li Qingyang leaned over and whispered, "On the grievance stage, life and death are not discussed." It can't be, right? Jun Chongshao's face slightly changed. Li Qingyang looked at Wei Yinu and said, "Let this disciple accept his challenge." Jun Chongshao shook his head and said, "The challenge was issued by an elder. How can I let this disciple take the risk?" While speaking, he strode toward the grievance stage. He accepted the challenge. Sect leader Jun actually accepted the challenge. With his cultivation, he will definitely be beaten black and blue by Elder Wei. Martial artists from various sects were talking at once. Among them, there were people with ulterior motives, such as the deacons of the Long Blade sect and the disciples of the Tiger's Hull sect. That's too reckless. Lu Qianqian frowned. The elder of the Spirit Spring sect was at the 12th level of the channel opening realm, while Jun Chongshao was only at the 5th level. With such a big gap, wasn't he courting death? The new disciples were also worried. The sect leader was very good in martial arts knowledge, but his cultivation was too low. How could he face the elder of the Spirit Spring sect who was close to the martial disciple level? When Jun Chongshao strode onto the grievance stage, no one was optimistic about him, whether it was martial artists from various sects or their own disciples. Ha ha ha. Wei Yinu also stepped onto the grievance stage and laughed. "Kid, if you were a coward, this elder might have let you go. Since you stepped onto the stage, you should be prepared to die." Is that so? Jun Chongshao disagreed. This kid was so calm. It was necessary to let him know this elder's strength. Wei Yinu rolled up his sleeves and clenched his fists. His muscles bulged, revealing his blue veins. Elder Wei's main cultivation is the physical body. Without any martial arts, he can shatter a 2,000 gene boulder with a single punch. Oh my god! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. A martial artist at the 12th level of the Meridian Opening Realm could shatter a 1,500 gene boulder. This was already very powerful. "This is nothing," a Spirit Spring sect disciple proudly said. "Our Elder Wei, in the wilderness, once killed a martial disciple-level beast with his bare hands."
What?
Everyone was shocked. A martial disciple-level beast was killed with his bare hands, with his Meridian Opening Realm strength. This was simply terrifying. Although the beast he killed was injured, but seeing the shock on the faces of the martial artists, Wei Yinu's face was filled with pride. However, when he looked at Jun Chongshao, he discovered that he was holding up his little finger and was picking his nose. GA. The martial artists of various sects were all dumbstruck. On the sacred and dignified grievance stage, this guy actually did such an indecent thing in front of everyone. What was even more exaggerated was that he even dug out a large lump and bounced it onto the shoes of the Spirit Spring sect elder.
Ah!
Wei Inu seemed to have received a great humiliation. He angrily roared, gathering his strength and punching out with his right fist. Huff huff. Wei Inu's strike was infused with his 12th level cultivation. Instantly, a visible wave of air appeared. Jun Changxiao's hands were behind his back, his face indifferent. Sect leader, Li Qingyang's expression was grave. Lu Qianqian, who had always been cold, also had a rare look of worry on her face. It's over. That guy was hit. If he didn't die, he would be injured. Boom. A muffled sound rang out, rolling up waves of wind, blowing everyone's hair, sleeves, and corners of their clothes. Chapter 19.
Swoosh.
Swoosh. The cultivator standing on the platform of gratitude and grudge had his hair fluttering in the wind. His face was filled with shock. Elder Wei's punch was truly terrifying. Even if there was a heavy rock on the stage, it would be smashed into pieces. At that moment, they all secretly judged that the Ironbone sect leader would be doomed after receiving such an explosive punch. They even looked below the stage, searching for the bodies that should have been sent flying.
No one?
Could it be that sect leader Jun was not sent flying but died on the stage? Swoosh.
Swoosh.
Everyone turned their heads and looked at the grievance stage. Sure enough, they immediately caught sight of Jun Changxiao's figure. Their jaws dropped, and their eyes flickered with disbelief. Li Qingyang was also stunned. What did they see to make such an exaggerated expression? They saw Jun Changxiao standing on the stage without moving an inch. His exposed palms, neck, and even his entire face were bronze yellow, like a cast bronze statue. Why did his skin color change? Is this a martial technique? I've never heard of a martial technique that can change one's skin color. That was not the point. The point was that Elder Wei was standing in front of Jun Changxiao, and his right fist was close to his chest. It was obvious that he had hit him accurately. Why did he not move an inch when the force that was enough to smash thousands of kilograms of rocks hit his body? Why did he maintain that nonchalant smile from before? The martial artists from various sects were stunned. They had imagined the scene of Jun Changxiao being sent flying or killed, but they had never imagined that he would take a punch and stand there as steady as a rock. Wei Inu also did not expect that the force of his anger could not even make him retreat a little. You! He was still in the state of attacking and said in shock, "What kind of martial technique is this?" Jun Changxiao said lightly, "Golden Bell Iron Skin Technique." Golden Bell Iron Skin Technique? What kind of martial technique is this? Why have I never heard of it? The name is a bit strange. It shouldn't be a martial technique from Azure Sun County. Not only in the Azure Sun County, but in the entire Falling Star continent, there was no such martial technique. This was because it was a martial technique from the Earth's Wuxia country. Could it be that Jun Changxiao used to be a martial artist? He was a fart. On Earth, he was just an ordinary person. Not to mention knowing martial arts, he lacked exercise all year round. Running a few laps around the field would tire him out like a dog. Then this Golden Bell Canopy Iron Skin Technique, so close, so close. Jun Changxiao stood calmly and secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, I have the Talisman of Resistance. Otherwise, even if I didn't die, I would be seriously injured. As it turned out, when Wei Yi's fury attacked him, he had crushed the Talisman of Resistance to beatings given by the Novice Gift Pack. The moment he crushed it, Jun Changxiao's skin began to change. His muscles became as hard as an iron wall. At that time, he was also gambling. He bet that the medicinal pill that was worth 1 contribution point would have a heaven-defying effect. The talisman that came out of the Novice Gift Pack would definitely not be weak. He made the right bet. The Talisman of Resistance to Beatings was very strong, very strong.
I'll talk.
Jun Changxiao said indifferently, "Did you not eat? Why is your punch so weak?" The talisman of resistance to beatings lasted for 60 minutes. Jun Changshao wanted to use the remaining 59 minutes and 30 seconds to act pretentious. Hateful. Wei Yi angrily retreated a dozen steps until he reached the edge of the stage. Then he suddenly rushed forward. Whoosh! His right fist punched out again. This time, it carried a visible wave of qi. It's coming again. It's stronger than last time. Sect leader Jun is not moving. Do you want to take it head-on? You're so confident.
Boom.
Wei Yi's powerful iron fist landed on Jun Changxiao's abdomen. A weak energy ripple appeared. And the result? Sect leader Jun was still standing in the same place. He didn't move an inch. The corners of his mouth raised into a smile as he said, Elder Wei, you should use some strength. If you continue to fight like this, you will only waste my time. Wei Yi was about to go crazy. He didn't have time to increase his speed. He directly punched out.
Bang.
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 In a short period of time, Jun Changxiao's chest, abdomen, and shoulders were hit several times. However, he still stood in the same place with a disapproving smile on his face. At that moment, the scene that appeared in the eyes of the martial artists was that sect leader Jun was like a wooden stake, letting Elder Wei hit him again and again. Wooden stake? That thing was hit so hard. At least it had some reaction. As for Jun Changxiao, he let Wei Yi hit him nonstop.
He was as steady as a rock.
Not a wooden stake. It was an iron wall. Too scary. What a powerful defensive martial skill. Diamond Shield Iron Skin Technique. If I encounter it in the future, no matter how much it costs, I must buy it. Everyone yearned for the martial skill that Jun Changxiao casually mentioned. Li Qingyang and Lu Qianqian breathed a sigh of relief. No wonder the sect leader dared to accept the challenge of the Spirit Spring sect elder. It turned out that he had cultivated such a powerful defensive martial skill.
Boom. Boom.
Wei Yi punched dozens of times. Finally, he stopped panting. This kind of unrestrained attack consumed the most spiritual energy. What's wrong? Jun Changxiao said disdainfully. Tired? Damn guy. Wei Yi clenched his fists, his eyes bloodshot. Jun Changxiao said indifferently, if you don't have the strength, don't challenge me. Otherwise, you will only make a fool of yourself in front of everyone. Wei Yi was so angry that his teeth were chattering. Suddenly, he retracted his fist and took a few steps back. He held his face with one hand and laughed. What's wrong? Elder Wei won't go crazy from anger, right? Everyone whispered. Suddenly, Wei Yi stopped laughing. His face was ferocious. Kid, to be able to force me to use my trump card, even if you die, you should feel honored. Jun Changxiao said, Trump card?
Schwa.
Wei Yi stepped forward, slightly bent his bow, and put his hands in front of his abdomen, assuming a stance similar to a horse stance. Huff huff. Two energy masses appeared strangely and gathered in the center of his palms. They started to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth around him.
Damn.
Seeing this, Jun Changxiao thought to himself, it can't be the Kamehameha, right? Li Qingyang said with a serious expression, this is the Sacred Spring Sect's unique martial technique. It's called the Glorious Resplendent Metal Stone Fist. Jun Changxiao almost fell to the ground. It's just a martial technique. Giving it such a long name, what a fucking talent. And that second disciple of mine, he actually said it without stopping. He's also a great talent. Ridicule was ridicule. Jun Changxiao's face became serious. After all, the two energy masses that gathered spiritual energy emitted an increasingly strong power. This light, Li Qingyang forgot the name of the martial technique. He paused for a moment and said, what myriad something stone fist? It seems to be a mortal grade mid-tier martial technique. Every grade of a martial technique would be subdivided into 3 small ranks. They were beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Although the 9-style overlapping wave sword technique was only a low-grade beginner martial technique, if the 9th style was used, its power could reach the mortal grade beginner martial technique. Since the Falling Star continent had a detailed division of martial techniques, it meant that the higher the grade and rank, the stronger the martial technique. No ways. Mortal grade mid-tier martial technique. In Qingyang City, this is priceless. As expected of a disciple from the Sacred Spring Sect, he actually cultivated such a powerful martial technique. Amidst the envious exclamations of the crowd, Wei Yinu had already accumulated the light something fist to the extreme. The two masses of energy were shining with dazzling light. Huff huff. A gust of wind rose on the stage. Oh my god. Such a strong aura. This is a mortal grade mid-tier martial technique. All the martial artists held their breaths. Their eyes were filled with shock.
Kid.
Wei Yinu shouted angrily. Die. Jun Changshao took out a wooden comb and combed his messy hair. My hairstyle is all messed up. It's very annoying. Plop. All the martial artists fell down. Elder Wei revealed his trump card, forming a whistling wind. He didn't care about his own safety. He actually cared about his hairstyle. Chapter 20. The arena was very sacred. Every martial artist who stepped on it would be in awe. However, after Jun Changshao stepped on it, he picked his nose first and combed his hair, which completely overturned their worldview. Ah! Wei Yinu roared again. He was about to gather the energy he had been accumulating for a long time, and he was combing his hair. What was this? He was looking down on him. He couldn't bear it. He couldn't bear it. Swoosh. Wei Yinu stepped forward and grabbed the energy ball with both fists. His face was twisted to the extreme. Die. Huff, huff. Both fists came at the same time, carrying a cold aura. The martial artists who were closer to the arena were shocked. They hurriedly took a few steps back, afraid of being affected by the airwaves. Too scary. This force is at least 2,500 pounds. Even a ferocious beast comparable to a martial disciple can't withstand it. Everyone was so shocked that their hair stood on end. However, when they looked at Jun Changshao, they found that he had just finished combing his hair and was leisurely putting the wooden comb on his belt. Elder Wei was coming at him with great momentum, but he was calm like an ancient well. Brother, you are really steady. Swoosh. At this moment, Jun Changshao raised both hands and took the incoming fist head-on. Everyone couldn't help but think, Sect leader Jun is going to make a move?
Boom.
Boom. The sound of the explosion was slightly deafening. All the martial artists from the various sects looked at the incoming waves of qi, and their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. On the arena, Jun Changshao stood still and took Wei Yinu's fists with his raised palms. There was still a disapproving smile on his face. No way. He can take this. Could it be that his Golden Bell Iron Skin martial skill has already reached the high level of mortal grade? Everyone was shocked. Wei Yinu maintained his attacking posture and said in disbelief, How is it possible? He had unleashed the brilliant, resplendent metal stone fist and had accumulated enough power to unleash it. This was definitely the most powerful attack he could unleash at the moment, yet he had easily received it. At this moment, Elder Wei's heart was about to break. Hey, Jun Changshao said, show me what else you have. Huff, huff. Wei Yinu breathed rapidly, his face twisted. Elder Wei is dying. Although high-grade martial skills are powerful, they also consume a lot of spiritual energy. I've already used up a lot of energy from the previous barrage of attacks. Now that I've used a fist technique, I'm afraid I'm exhausted. Exhausted? Elder Wei took a few steps back, bowed his head and covered his face with his hands, and burst out laughing again. Smiling again? Everyone was stunned.
Brat.
Elder Wei gradually raised his head and raised one of his hands. He said gloomily, Do you think I only have martial arts? Hoo-hoo. A large saber appeared out of nowhere. It was obvious that he had summoned his weapon from his spatial ring.
Boom.
The broadsword fell to the ground, and the stone floor trembled slightly. This saber is heavy. Look, there's the word Fan carved on the blade. It's a weapon forged by Master Fan. Everyone cried out in alarm. Master Fan was the top blacksmith of the Starfall continent. In his lifetime, he had forged tens of thousands of weapons, and every single one of them was regarded as a treasure by the continent's martial artists.
Swoosh.
Wei Nu raised the saber and wiped it with his sleeves. He said proudly, I spent a lot of money to buy this saber. I've always treated it like my life. Today is the first time I've shown it in front of others. Jun Changshao pointed at the saber and laughed. There's a gap on the blade. It's obviously a defective product. Wei Inu roared. Even if there's a flaw in a weapon forged by Master Fan, it's still very precious. Don't use the word defective to humiliate me. Jun Changshao was speechless. He was just speaking the truth. Was there a need to be so angry? He didn't understand. In the Starfall continent, weapons were very important to martial artists. Master Fan's weapon was especially precious. It couldn't be blasphemed at all.
Brat.
Wei Inu's eyes were cold. Today, I'll use your blood to taste my golden dragon broadsword.
Oh.
Jun Changshao said as he picked his nose. Wei Inu's ego was once again fiercely whipped. He held the golden dragon broadsword tightly and said in a low voice, Unbearable, unbearable, whoosh whoosh. A strong spiritual energy spread out and lingered on the golden dragon broadsword. In an instant, a heavy aura burst out. Elder Wei is going to make a move. This broadsword must be of the common grade. After infusing it with a martial artist's spiritual energy, it should be easy to kill a martial disciple. Sect leader Jun is in danger.
Swoosh.
Wei Nu pointed his blade at Jun Changshao and said coldly, Show me your weapon. Weapon versus weapon was the rule in the arena. If one bullied an unarmed person just because he had a weapon, he would be mocked and despised by his peers. It's just a small dispute. Jun Changshao said, Just use your fists. There's no need to use your blade and spear. Everyone's mouth twitched. Sect leader Jun, he used his blade and spear because he couldn't deal with you with his fists. Cut the crap. Wei Inu roared, Show me your weapon and fight to the death with me. He was angry, he was sullen. He wanted to kill the Iron Bones sect leader to vent his anger.
All right.
Jun Changshao raised his hand.
Clang.
Lu Qianqian unsheathed her sword. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, I have a sword. He has a sword? Lu Qianqian was stunned. Xiao, a sword appeared in Jun Changshao's hand. 2 pearls were inlaid on the scabbard. Under the sunlight, they emitted a dazzling blue light. Lu Qianqian said seriously, This sword is extraordinary. TSK, Wei Inu said disdainfully, A sword is a weapon to kill enemies. The pearls inlaid on the scabbard are just decorations. All the martial artists agreed. The sword was sharp. No matter how well decorated the scabbard was, it was only used by scholars to pretend to be elegant. Since you showed me your weapon, I will show you my blade. Wei Inu held the blade with both hands and poured the last of his spiritual energy into the blade. Instantly, an even thicker aura was activated. Great desert blade art. He shouted coldly. The veins on his arms bulged. He raised the golden dragon blade high and suddenly slashed at Jun Changshao. All the martial artists opened their mouths. Because in their field of vision, a 2-meter-long blade energy shot out close to the ground. Caw, 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 wherever it passed, the stone floor was dented. Hiss. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Elder Wei not only had a blade made by Master Fan, but also a special blade art. The power of this attack could probably directly crush a martial disciple. The next second, everyone looked at Jun Changshao. How could he face such a powerful blade attack? Or continue to use the Golden Bell Shield and Iron Skin technique to resist?
Clang.
Jun Changshao held the sword hilt and quickly pulled it out.
Schwa. Schwa. Schwa.
9 styles overlapping wave sword art. The first style, the second style, the third style. In the blink of an eye, he continuously swung out 8 styles and slashed out the 9th style. Whoosh whoosh. 8 layers of waves gathered together and turned into a stream of sword energy that flew out. From unsheathing to unsheathing the sword, the whole process was extremely fast. When everyone caught sight of the condensed sword energy, it had already met the heavy blade energy.
Bang.
The blade energy was directly cut into pieces. The sword energy's power did not decrease and rushed towards Wei Inu. All the martial artists were stunned. Not good. Wei Inu's expression was aghast. He subconsciously held the golden dragon blade in front of him. Bang! The sword energy slashed on the blade, and a golden sound was heard. Gotcha then! The mortal-grade golden dragon blade made by Master Fan suddenly shattered in front of everyone's eyes. When the shattered blade flew past him, Wei Inu was already dumbstruck. The sword energy's power did not decrease and ruthlessly slashed down, cutting his shoulder. His entire right arm flew out and landed on the stone floor 3 meters away. The palm that was separated from his body naturally loosened, and the golden dragon blade that was left with only the hilt rolled down.
Ah!
A painful scream came from the grudge stage. Chapter 21.
Ding.
Side mission completed. Host receives 20 contribution points.
Ding.
Sect contribution points, 117,100. Excess contribution points. Host must spend them within 24 hours. Otherwise, the excess contribution points will be automatically deducted. While Wei Inu was suffering miserably, Jun Changshao heard the sound of a quest completion notification. As expected of an elite mission. After completing the mission, he actually received 20 contribution points. Jun Changshao was overjoyed, but when he saw the bloody arm on the stage, he almost vomited. As a transmigrator, he hadn't even killed a chicken since he was young. It was normal for him to find it hard to adapt to suddenly cutting off a person's arm. He wanted to kill me, so I crippled him. There's nothing wrong with that. Jun Changshao gave himself a reason to comfort himself, and his mind gradually relaxed. In this cruel world, to those who want to kill you, you must fight back with cold means. Otherwise, sooner or later, you will die. A person must have principles. My principle is if people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, I will offend them.
Clang.
Jun Changshao sheathed his sword and cupped his hands. Elder Wei, thank you for letting me win.
Schwa.
He jumped off the stage. Let's go.
Yes.
Li Qingyang, Lu Qianqian, and the others followed Jun Changshao and gradually disappeared from the stage. How is this possible? Sect Master Jun actually defeated Elder Wei, who was at the 12th stage of the channel opening realm. All the martial artists recovered from their shock. Shattering Master Fan's mortal-grade weapon and cutting off Elder Wei's arm was simply unimaginable for them. The deacon of the Long Blade School and the disciple of the Tiger's Hull School felt a chill down their backs. They were secretly glad that they didn't challenge him on impulse, or else they would have suffered a tragedy. A martial artist solemnly said, Sect Master Jun's sword has probably reached the high stage of mortal grade. This sentence received the approval of everyone. They found it hard to believe that Jun Changshao could severely injure Wei Yixiao. The only explanation was that his sword was of extremely high quality. That's right. The reason why Wei Inu was heavily injured was because of the initial grade cold-edge sword. Jun Changshao, who was walking on the street, also exclaimed inwardly, I didn't expect the elementary swords in the elementary store to be so powerful. At first, he thought that it should be stronger than the Golden Dragon broadsword, but after using it, he realized that he had underestimated it. Qianqian. Jun Changshao smiled and said, My sword is not bad, right? It's all right. It was so valiant, but it was still passable. What kind of sword could enter her eyes? Jun Changshao shook his head and said, I have extra in my ring. Do you want me to give you one? After completing the elite mission, his contribution points had exceeded the upper limit. Thus, when he left the training ground, he exchanged for 2 elementary cold-edged swords. Such a powerful weapon, he could only use one. The rest could be given to his disciples. The reason why he gave it to Lu Qianqian first was firstly because she was his eldest disciple. Secondly, he hoped to gain her favor so that she would be less sarcastic towards him in the future.
No.
Lu Qianqian said indifferently. To reject such a high-quality sword, there must be something wrong with his head.
All right.
Jun Changshao did not force her. Sect Master. Li Qingyang said, Senior sister doesn't want it, but I want it. Although he had a mortal elementary weapon compared to the Sect Master's sword, there was still a big gap. Jun Changshao said, Perform well when you return to the sect. You will get everything. The implication was that he did not intend to give it to Li Qingyang.
It was not a preferential treatment.
The main reason was that the second disciple had just joined the sect and did not have any performance or contribution. It was inappropriate to give a sword directly. Jun Changshao did not want his sect to become a charity organization. Understood. Li Qingyang said, Disciple will perform well and get the sect master's approval. Jun Changshao nodded and looked at the disciples behind him. Once you return to the sect, it will be difficult for you to see your parents again. Go home and accompany them. After 10 days, report to the sect. This sect master was quite humane. Thank you, sect master. The disciples left one after another, leaving only Li Qingyang standing in the same place. Jun Changshao said, Why don't you go back? Li Qingyang shook his head and said, Father should be in seclusion after the sect master's guidance. There's no point in going back. Jun Changshao said, Then follow me back to the sect first. Sect master. Li Qingyang cupped his hands and said, Disciple has a presumptuous request.
Speak.
Jun Changshao said. Li Qingyang was silent for a moment and said, Disciple wants to bring someone back to the sect.
Who?
Someone I love deeply. A woman? Wasn't this nonsense? If you don't love a woman, how can you love a man? Although Li Qingyang was speechless, he still nodded and said, Yes, a woman from a poor family with mediocre aptitude. Poor family? Mediocre aptitude? Was such a woman worthy of the #1 genius of Green Sun City? Jun Changshao seemed to understand something and said, So, this is another reason why you joined my Iron Bone clan? Yes. Li Qingyang didn't deny it. Jun Changshao held his chin and thought for a while, then said, The sect has just started and lacks people to take care of the chores. Let her come with us. Thank you, sect master. Li Qingyang said gratefully. He could have joined Green Mountain Sect, but he refused, because he knew that such a large sect wouldn't accept his woman. He joined Iron Bone for 2 reasons. First, he thought that he had potential because of his outstanding pills. Second, the lowest 9th-rate sect wouldn't mind him bringing an outsider up the mountain. But Jun Changshao leaned over and whispered, Isn't it too early for you to fall in love at 16? Li Qingyang said, Sect master, my cousins who are half a year younger than me are already married and have children. Jun Changshao's eyes widened. Marriage was understandable, but having children was a bit ridiculous, wasn't it? Li Qingyang said in surprise, Sect master, don't you know that you can marry and have children after the 14-year-old coming-of-age ceremony on the Falling Star continent? Cough, cough. Jun Changshao said with his hands behind his back, Of course I know. He thought bitterly in his heart, getting married at 14, and with this body of mine, I'll be 18 in 2 months. Won't I be a senior single dog? I don't want to be a single dog. I want to show off my love. Sect master, I'll bring her here. Yes, go ahead. Li Qingyang left, and soon returned alone with a letter in his hand. Where is she? Jun Changshao asked. Li Qingyang lowered his head and said painfully, She didn't want to delay my future, so she left a letter and left. Jun Changshao said, If that girl is really as you said, born poor and with mediocre talent, quietly leaving would be the best ending for you and her. Sect master. Li Qingyang looked up and said, Do you also think that she's not good enough for me? Jun Changshao said, It's not me who thinks so. It's others who think so. Li Qingyang clutched the letter tightly and said, When I become strong, I'll find her no matter where she is. Then, in front of the whole world, I'll tell her loudly that only I, Li Qingyang, am good enough for you, and you're not good enough for Li Qingyang.
Good.
Jun Changshao applauded. In his previous world, marriage of equal social status was very important. The Falling Star continent, where martial arts were respected, was definitely better than that. Li Qingyang was talented, but he didn't care about the girl's humble status or the judgment of the world. That alone was very precious. Lu Qianqian said untimely, Another idiot. Jun Changshao was speechless. It turned out that this woman not only knew how to attack him, but also his junior brother. Chapter 22.
What?
Li Qingyang joined Ironbone.
What?
The head of Ironbone taught the elder of Song Mountain Sect, and he was extremely grateful.
What?
The elder of Spirit Springs Sect had an arm cut off by that guy. The cultivators, who did not see it with their own eyes, after hearing it from others, had the same expression on their faces. It has to be said, the three things that Jun Changshao did at the martial arts practice field, any one of them was very sensational. When he happily left with Lu Qianqian and Li Qingyang, in just half a day, the city was in an uproar, and everyone was talking about it. It's impossible. That trash sect, how could they have such a valiant head? Is it a rumor? It's not a rumor, it's true. I saw it with my own eyes at the martial arts practice field. This is simply inconceivable. Ironbone cut off Elder Wei's arm. Isn't it the same as completely offending Spirit Spring Sect? Spirit Spring Sect is not to be trifled with. In my opinion, it won't be long before they bring people to Qingyang Village to cause trouble for Ironbone. What everyone was worried about, Jun Changshao was also worried. However, thinking that he still had 97 contribution points, which could be exchanged for more goods, he fearlessly said, As long as the people of Spirit Spring Sect dare to come, I'll make them go back lying down. Why did he cross over to another world? Wasn't it to become stronger? To act pretentious?
To be bullied?
To be bullied at his door? This kind of thing could not be tolerated, and neither could his aunt. Head Jun was now looking forward to the Spirit Spring Sect coming to cause trouble for him. This way, he could better raise the prestige of the sect and let the world know my Ironbone sect is not to be trifled with. After a gust of wind, the two dilapidated wooden doors creaked, as if they would fall off at any time. Li Qingyang stood 10 meters away from the door and looked at the dilapidated building. He then looked at the plaque that said Ironbone Clan hanging on the door. The corner of his mouth twitched as he said, Sect leader, is it too late for me to leave the sect now? It's too late. Jun Changshao's heart was filled with bitterness. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my Ironbone, upright sect. In 100 years, he had to develop it into the strongest sect and recruit 100,000 disciples. This was simply hell mode.
Hey. Hey. Hey.
A naked 3-year-old child hopped over and stopped at the corner of the door. He supported his penis and diligently fertilized the weeds.
Ah.
Jun Changshao drew his sword and roared, Little brat, you dare to pee in front of my Ironbone sect. I will cut off your little penis. Sect leader, calm down. Sect leader, calm down. Li Qingyang hurriedly dragged it back, afraid that he would do something irrational.
Wah.
The 3-year-old child was so scared that he started crying. He twisted his butt and ran away. He even shouted in grievance, Mom, Go Sheng bullied me.
Ah.
Jun Changshao roared, Little brat, if you call me Go Sheng again, believe it or not, I will kill you right now. Sect leader, calm down. Sect leader, calm down. Li Qingyang held on with all his might. Huff. Jun Changshao took a deep breath and calmed himself down. As the leader of a sect, how can I lower myself to the level of a 3-year-old child?
Swoosh.
He waved his sleeves and said, let's go in. Plops. Just as he walked to the door, the plaque hanging above was blown down by the wind. It directly hit his head, and he fell to the ground with his limbs in the air. Li Qingyang. Lu Qianqian, ah. I want to smash it. Sect leader, calm down. Sect leader, calm down. This is our Iron Bone Upright Sect's plaque. Since our Iron Bone Upright Sect wants to develop, we must first tidy up the sect inside and outside. These broken doors and windows must all be replaced. Sitting at the head of the sect hall, Jun Changshao said with a deep tone. This trip to Qingyang City had made him rich. The first thing he had to do was to rebuild the sect. Even if it was not grand, it had to at least be pleasing to the eye. Sect leader. Li Qingyang reminded him softly. Your head is still spurting blood. It's okay, it's okay. Jun Changshao patted the wound that was hit by the plaque and said, I'll leave these things to you. You must complete them seriously. Yes, Li Qingyang said.
All right.
Jun Changshao handed him a few banknotes and stood up shakily. I'm a little dizzy. I'll go back and rest first. Iron Bone Upright Sect was built on a barren mountain near Qingyang village. Because of sect leader Wang's death, the villagers rarely came here anymore. But these few days, the villagers found that Qingyang village's carpenters and bricklayers went up the mountain in large batches. All kinds of building materials were also transported up. Iron Bone's sect is going to be renovated? Go Sheng, that brat, is rich now. Impossible. He went to Aunt Wang's house to beg for food a while ago. How can he be rich now? Let's go up and take a look. The villagers went up the mountain in groups of 3 to 5, but they were stopped by Lu Qianqian at the entrance. Our sect is being renovated. Those who are not disciples of our sect are not allowed to enter. Mississippi, a villager, smiled and said, We're from the foot of the mountain. With dogs. Clang. Lu Qianqian unsheathed her sword and said coldly, Sect leader has ordered that whoever dares to call his nickname will be killed.
Swoosh.
At that moment, the villagers of Qingyang village turned into martial arts experts and disappeared without a trace. Lu Qianqian sheathed her sword and said in a low voice, Go Sheng is a much better name than Jun Changshao. Why is sect leader so resistant? The matter of the sect's renovation was handled by Li Qingyang. Sect leader Jun sat cross-legged in his room and said thoughtfully, It's full, but we need disciples to do missions to improve the sect's construction.
Swoosh.
He opened the system panel again and found that there were no missions for the sect. Puzzled, he asked, System, when will there be missions for the sect? The system said, Wait. Jun Changshao was speechless. He opened the system store to see if there was anything he needed. He had martial skills and weapons. He didn't need anything for the time being.
Wrong.
He lacked a realm. Jun Changshao didn't think that a 5th-level meridian opening cultivator would be able to stay in the falling star continent forever. The most important thing right now was to increase his realm. Is there any experienced talisman? He began to search, but couldn't find anything even after scrolling to the bottom. Jun Changshao lay on his bed, clutching his bleeding head as he said, Could it be that I have to rely on meditation to increase my cultivation like the other cultivators here? It wasn't impossible, but it was too slow. After all, his body's aptitude was average, and he didn't have any advanced mental cultivation techniques. If he cultivated normally, breaking through to martial disciple would be difficult. That's right. Jun Changshao slapped his forehead and blood spurted out. I can change my aptitude.
Swoosh.
He opened the system panel again and entered the beginner system store. He kept scrolling down and quickly locked onto an item called Aptitude Changing Fluid. He clicked on the detailed description. Item: Aptitude Changing Fluid. Effect: can change one's aptitude and increase it by 1 level. Note: can only be used by people with low aptitudes. Effectiveness: lifetime. Price: 50 contribution points. 50 points? Jun Changshao scrolled down and saw that the price was indeed 50 contribution points. He collapsed. Aptitude-changing items are so expensive? That's right, that's right. Aptitude determines a martial artist's cultivation speed and upper limit. It's reasonable for it to be expensive. Without hesitation, he chose to buy it.
Jing.
Host spent 50 contribution points and obtained Aptitude Changing Fluid X1. It has been transferred to the spatial ring.
Ding.
Sect contribution points for 7100. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.